I question that all the time. I think she does too. And I think what we may find out is that, love, and this is going to sound so esoteric and so fucking stupid, excuse my language, but this is like love is so much more complex and nuanced than we sort of think of it as. And that these like societal constraints in which we think of like what a relationship has to have in it to be happy are just completely wrong. Because I think that for me, this is someone who I look at every day. I'm like, wow, you're stunningly beautiful. Wow, you're my best friend. Wow, you're so cool. But there are certain things that I think are fundamental underlying things about one another that I'm not sure we both feel about each other, that we're not sure we want to be like just forever and legally tied to forever about one another.
I'm gonna warn you, whilst you were telling me all of this, I managed to get it to work and go live.
I do see that, yeah. So welcome to my therapy.
Welcome to James's life. This is what it's about.
Welcome to this is my relationship. So anyway, well, cool, man.
Let me make sure this is all set up. Yeah, we're live. You can see it on my channel now.
Cool, man.
I can only see you though. How do I get a gallery view? There we go. I'm on as well. Rather than switching between us. This is going to be an interesting first.
This is an experiment, right?
It is an experiment. I've never tried live streaming before.
Yeah, we'll see
so
how this.
I wanted to give it a go.
Yeah, I'm all for. I think I'm very blessed in my life, so to speak. Where I have a scenario where like, what are you doing today, James? I am doing an experiment with a friend to see if we can, if we
can live stream.
And see
pick up some viewers.
YouTube algo, see where to go.
Dude, it's crazy. Like I told you last time about this one guy I've been seeing who went from like nothing to 200,000 subs now in the space of 5 months, just all from live streaming.
I mean, it's mind-boggling when you see some of these live stream, like some YouTube content that really goes viral. Like, there's a guy who do you know what Pomodoro technique is?
Yeah. The 25 and 5, 25.
So there's a guy who like films his studying with a Pomodoro technique, and he invites you to join him for a study session.
Yeah.
And so it's just like you study while he studies on the screen. And I guess it probably like apropos of COVID became a pretty, when everyone was sitting alone and stuff. But I think he gets something like 800,000 views on each video. I mean, Jesus and there's nothing happening in the video except for him studying. So kudos to him.
People just want to watch the guy sitting there quietly.
Or they want to feel like they're next to other people that are also watching. You know what I mean? I get there's some sort of camaraderie in terms of like work and getting stuff done, but it's, considering I hate studying with every single fiber of my being.
Hey, what? You know what? She's been asleep all day, and then that's it.
What an angel! What a stunning angel!
Kiki, say hi. Say hi, Kiki.
Hey, Kiki. Oh, that's so funny. That's so crazy because my best friend has had a what's that, Siberian? No, it's not a Siberian. Whatever that is, a Persian. Is it a Persian?
Yeah. This one's a ragdoll, but it's a lynx ragdoll.
Super cool. So it like hangs around like this all the time. Yeah, I love it.
She does. Although I think she's just woken up. She's been asleep all day, and then I swear, as soon as I start filming anything, both of them.
She wants love. She wants attention.
They just know. They know they can blackmail me. They've got these like rip-off priced chicken breasts, freeze-dried chicken breasts that cost an extortionate amount, and they just use the filming to cause trouble.
To get it out of you.
Yeah.
It's my best friend has a cat that looks exactly like that, and his mom's name is Kiki, so it's very funny. And Kiki is like a French slang term. I don't know where you get.
It means pee-pee.
Yeah. Like un kiki is like a little kid's penis, right? It's like so anyway.
How are we doing? You see, this is what I love about YouTube. So we've got 196 watching live.
That is so crazy, man. And I'm just literally sitting here talking about Kiki's Like un kiki en français, c'est. I apologize, everybody. I apologize.
Yeah, well, we just chat away. All right, so we have to give them some actual value in
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
because
let's do
I've
this.
titled this "How to Make Money Online." And after our last conversation, I love that, man. We just riffed for like 2 hours
This is
on
easy. Let's do
content
this.
sites. It is, but you got me thinking a lot, because I spent a lot of time on SEO for main projects because it's so time consuming. But then I think it must have been through you, because it was after our conversation. I think you liked something that James Askew tweeted on Twitter about exact match domain names. And that sent me down a rabbit hole for SEO. And I was like, okay, wait, you could do this for almost anything. Like this random project I'm doing at the moment on turning this children's book into an anime. Yeah. Okay. There's a method to my madness. I'm trying to, without going out and building yet another business, I was like, okay, how can I do a project that teaches people business schools? All right, so de-risking the amount of money that you lay out by finding someone else to subsidize it. So that was all about like trying to get someone to sponsor it. And we ended up getting Fiverr to sponsor it and pay for the anime and pay me to make it. So it's like win-win. I want people to see that. And then it took me down this rabbit hole of kind of exact match domain names, and I was like, oh shit, you know what, why don't I just do this the same thing? So I was looking at webtoons, which is a related, like a lot of animes get made from webtoons. And I was like,
webtoons is like a major platform in the space.
Yeah,
right?
5 million searches each month just for searches, forget direct visits or anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I do a webtoon and try and get studios to pick this up and get attention, how can I game the SEO, and what's it going to be like? Is it competitive? And I went around and I was like, shit, best webtoons gets nearly 13,000 searches a month, and there's no competition for it.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah, dude. I mean, I think that the magic, like and I think we spoke about this last time a bit, but like it's almost like a trope, but I'm that like, jack of all trades, master of none. Right. And so like for me with SEO, like I could sit here and talk to the moon with anybody about SEO, and they'd be like, oh, James knows a lot about SEO. And then like sort of like actual functional understanding. Like one of my friends who like does SEO for a living be like, oh, James is basically a child when it comes to SEO. Right. But it is one of those things that I think there are, I was having a conversation yesterday about the metaverse, right? So as opposed to just like the universe, the metaverse, this digital universe in which we all exist in, right?
Yeah.
Like you and I are two versions of ourselves digitally online, right? Specifically, as opposed to who we are like sitting in these chairs.
Yeah, completely different people.
Completely.
Right? What you show the world, and then there's the shit you don't want to air
all
out.
The interconnections of it and stuff. And so like when I think about, because I talk so much about website flipping, so when I think about like SEO and websites and I think about like domains as like sort of being like the land that you build your house on, right? Or you build your business on. So the domain, so like a great domain is, in my mind, is like getting, not only you're gonna have people that go out and look for it, but SEO wise, if you can find like I live in New York City, right? So if you can find a corner on Broadway in Soho, i.e. best webtoons, right? If you can find this domain that no one is at, then if you just build something there, tons of people are going to come to it, right? And obviously you can make your building, your store, your business that you build there, you can make it great or you can make it crappy. That's all up to you, and that's up to the world to decide how good it is. But these domains are these like beautiful sort of like, just like plots of land to build on. And I think what's really cool about the metaverse and about domains is that there are still, like, come to Manhattan, it is just not possible to find a corner in a popular neighborhood to find something very cheap to build on. But what's cool about domains is that you can find that stuff, right? You can find there are just infinite hidden gems. And the more that the world expands, which is never ending, the more of these hidden gems will just continue to pop up and exist, right? The more new businesses come up, the more random keywords will exist that you can build on. So anyway, that's my speech, but I've been like really thinking about like websites as like income properties, kind of, like, and like the land as being the domain that they're built on.
There's kind of two arguments for this, because it depends what you're looking for. If you're going to build a business, then you don't have to target an exact match domain. Depending on the type of business, okay? If you're going to spend the time and effort to build a brand, then there is evidence that Google is giving priorities to branded domains, because obviously Google, especially in things like medicine or finance, anywhere where authority and qualifications matter, then it will give more weight to a brand. So brand elements do matter. But if you want to build around a niche, then getting an exact match domain name is gold dust, because it just adds so much weight off the bat when you're going in there. You need less backlinks to rank it on the top of the first page.
Sure.
What drives me nuts, though, because you do have to face it off, is when I went looking for this, I found that someone was squatting on top of bestwebtoons.com and every variant. So then I just went, all right, what do I do? Thebestwebtoons.com, that'll do. And then I've got to use my SEO and the fact that there's no competition for this keyword to rank it as number one.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I think what's interesting is to think about how Google changes, because it used to be that EMDs, right, exact match domains, like a decade ago, were just like, forget gold. I mean, we're whatever. What's much more rare than
it was
gold.
Selling for a million,
it was like a weird thing because
you
could build anything on them and be number one, right? That it used to just be this magic thing, right? Where like, and obviously that's changed a bit now. One thing that Google is working on pretty clearly, and what you are touching on here about getting something close to it, is sort of this idea that how does it provide the best content ever to the searchers? All they really care about is just having the right search results, right? So I could have James Camp is the coolest dude in the world.com, and if I did it correctly, still rank for best webtoons, right? It still rank number one for best webtoons.
Hey, don't try and compete with me here. I don't want any competition. I went for this because it was low competition.
But I think what I think is interesting about exact match domains is normally you're thinking about it differently. Most people think of it as like just building a bridge, right? Like essentially you have a customer that wants to get somewhere. And normally that EMD is the bridge to get that customer to the end product, right? So normally it's like best webtoons. Most people think like, I build a bridge page, hopefully I get a click to go to best webtoons, right? But what's interesting is like, what you're talking about is, can you build like this authority site that is more than just a bridge, right? That when people come to best webtoons, maybe one thing I talk about a lot is like trying to build, most content sites are bridges. They're bridge pages. That's all they are. There's Amazon associate sites, any lead gen site, they're all just a bridge for a customer to get to an end, to get to a seller, right? And you're capturing a VIG by selling ad space on it, right? Connecting the two. So most people with these bridge pages don't think about like customer retention because they don't have a customer. So it's really difficult to think about getting to come back and again and again. And this is why I'm like so bullish on newsletters. So I love newsletters so much, because yeah, if you've come to me for the best webtoons, instead of me just sending you there once and me never seeing you again, because now you think you've found the best web, or I have to hope you search on Google again, maybe there's an opportunity for me to build a retention tool, like some sort of newsletter where every week I send you the best webtoons that within the genre that you've sort of clicked, you identified.
No, that's actually a good idea, because I was using it for something else, and it was primarily because I'm making this anime, and I realized that studios take the best webtoons and turn them into anime. And well, if I'm making an anime and I want to sell it to a studio, then maybe I should be having a webtoon. And how do I get that webtoon to get more visits? Well, I have to trick the webtoon algorithm into promoting it. How can I do that? Well, there's 12,000 searches over here. Maybe I just create a list and I'm top of that list. But now that you've said newsletter, I'm thinking, okay, shit, I should add a newsletter. That way I can capture some more leads and I can keep them coming back with new episodes of that.
100%. My theory is always people, because I talk about website flipping so much, right? And like, for me, I'm now like buying e-commerce businesses and trying to roll them up to be this big $100 million whatever company, but I still teach people about how to flip content sites. And I think that one of the main things here is that people say, well, what do I put in a newsletter? Okay, you put two things. First of all, you put aggregated content from other people's websites, right? So for you, it would be other webtoons, right? But you also put in your content, right? You highlight it as the point is like, if all I did to you is like, watch my webtoons, watch my webtoons, watch my webtoons, or like buy my course, buy my course, buy my course, you'd say like, screw you. I don't really want to ever listen to you ever again. But if you present me with what feels like unbiased and useful information regularly, and then sprinkle in a little bit of where you want people to go, then you get them just coming back again and again and again and again. I think that people either don't do it or they go too hard on the promoting. And like, this is where the art comes in, right? You know, like it's a bit of science and a lot of art, you know, like sort of, I think not ranking, well, I'm sure ranking as well, but I mean, in terms of like retention with newsletters, I think it's a little science and a little art.
Yeah, you've got to think about everything from design, copy, content. It's not just about the technical SEO. That matters to Google, but Google's also looking out for the user. So the time that the
100%.
person spends on the page and anything you can do to keep them on that page for longer matters, because they're looking.
Now we're looking at, I don't know how much you know about Core Web Vitals, but you know, Google's like has this new update they've been talking about for a long time, and they're planning on rolling out. They said April. I have like, not like I'm plugged into Google, but I have a couple of inside people on the inside track who keep me in the loop about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see more in July, some Core Web Vitals roll out, and then more in the fall of 2021, like a full update to the like to checking on Core Web Vitals. But most of this again really just comes down to like weird things like page speed, right? Like all Google really cares about is like, are you making a seamless experience for their user, right? Because they're so big. They don't care, like, you know, they don't, yeah, but they want you to click ads, but they make so much money. What they want is just automatic retention. They want people just to think of, I mean, honestly, the only reason I am where I am today is because of Google. So like kudos to Sergey Brin or whatever his name is and that whole crew, because everything I know is from Google, and everyone on YouTube is here because of them as well, right? So it's interesting to think about the things that are moving forward, but it's really just about providing the best user experience possible, which sounds just like garbage, you know, but really you just want to make everyone feel like the user experience on your website or YouTube channel or whatever is awesome, and just create really high quality content.
It's the truth, right? Because that's the goal of their algo, is to deliver value to the user. They want people to spend more time on their website. Yeah, that's all it 100%. Comes down to. So I just want to roll it back for a second here, so that anyone that hasn't seen the last video or anyone that comes to this later can kind of get value out of the title that I put in, which is how to make money online in 2021. Because
I love it.
Yeah. Before, well, I mean, that, you know, that's another thing. I sent that to you before we even started this, right? It's a low competition keyword. It's got 500,000 searches a month on YouTube.
I'm blown away by that. I'm blown away that's low competition on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because that is, I'm sorry, I'm just blown away.
I'm going to caveat this by saying this is according to vidIQ's stats, and they're they're supposed to be the YouTube go-to for.
Well, how many viewers are on here right now?
So we're fluctuating. We're at 61 right now, and it's going up and down. So I guess people are coming in. So yeah, we're averaging out at 60, and it's climbing occasionally.
Okay, cool. I'm just curious. I'm so new to this. I'm just curious about it.
Yeah, it's hard to know who's going to be searching for live and who's going to be coming on. But rolling it back to what I really want to get into is because after our conversation, I was thinking, you know what? A lot of people are interested in making money online. So how do you break it down and add value to the user in simple terms so that anyone watching this from anywhere in the world can go and launch a business no matter what stage you're at? And I thought to myself, well, okay, so it's really like any business. It's either selling a product, selling a service, or selling advertising. And if you're going to sell a product, you're going to have to find the product. You're probably going to have to put time and effort into paid marketing. So those are your barriers to entry. If you're going to sell a service, you need a skill to be able to deliver that service, and you need to find clients. So really everything rolls back to content. And if you can deliver great content and create content, then you can create a business online, because whether it's an ad asset for a Facebook ad or a display ad on Google Ad Network or any other, it all comes back to content and delivering value to the consumer. And then you either sell ads or you sell products, whether they're your own, or you sell other products through affiliates, or you sell services that are your own or through affiliates. Everything rolls back. In my view, content is king, and building content sites is what matters, especially if you're starting out with no money. If you've got the money, go and buy someone else's business. Find out from Nano Flips exactly how to do it. And buy. It doesn't have to be a content site. It could be a SaaS business. You could go to Microacquire and do it. But if I was starting out from scratch and I had no money, I would do what you said to do. I would find a niche and I would build a content site around it, a niche that is going to explode, because you start in a growing market. You don't want to go into an existing competitive market, because there's a lot of work. It might take you 12, 24 months in your return value for it. And then how do we go about finding those niches? I thought, okay, there's actually quite a few. There's Exploding Topics, which Brian Dean just launched. There's Trends by The Hustle. And there's another one Noah Kagan Schwartz has. I can't remember the name of it, but he delivers you an email on topics that are growing. And they're sourcing all the data from Google Trends and stuff like that to see. And I thought, I would do what Jane said. I would go after a niche. I would use one of these, maybe Exploding Topics, to find a niche that is growing and there's going to be higher search volume over time for it. So a new topic. And I would just go after long tail and short tail keywords and start delivering content about it and building it out.
Yeah. I mean, I think what's interesting is I always talk to people, say that people should look at Google Trends, right? But obviously you have to that's pretty macro. For me, I think very macro about that as well. Like the business we just bought is I'll keep it vague, but it's in the silver tech space. It's technology for elderly people. And so I don't even need to look at trends to know that baby boomers in the next 5 years, we're gonna have over 70 million people in the United States over the age of 65. We're the largest group of senior citizens we've ever had in the history of the world in the next 5 years, right? Ever. So from a super, super, super macro level, and then you can even, I think maybe that's the way to look at it. It's think really wide and then go narrow down into inside of that. What is really, really trending in that reaches this all ships rise in high tide sort of thing, right? For example, forget my, I don't want anyone stealing my niche of the elderly, but
no, but I love it, because one of the ones that I mentioned, trends.co, that the Hustle has, actually a couple of years ago, they were talking about silver tech and the market for, in care homes and anything else. What technologies or services can you offer to a growing population of old people?
Sure. And I think that's a major, I think you look for the all ships rise on high tide, and then this is where a little bit of his art, right? We can sit here and be think about macro trends, look at trends.co, look at all these, right? Listen to Noah Kagan, all these great things, but there has to be a little piece of you that either just can recognize something or find something that they're interested about, that to write about and create content about. Because I think that really there's this concept of the path of least resistance is probably the path of greatest success, right? Or at least happiness, right? So I tell people all the time, yeah, I think I could teach anyone how to go make crazy money, right? You probably would hate your life and hate your job and hate everything you did, really genuinely. So would you rather go make 100K a year or 60 grand a year part-time and really, really enjoy what you do and have fun doing it and it feel like play? Because when I wake up, man, this is play to me, what we're doing right now. This is legitimately play.
Yeah.
This is part of our jobs. It's kind of crazy, right? So that's great. But in general, if I think it's important for people to not just go for the thing that is just the highest reward for their effort, because it just becomes boring and they hate it and it ruins their lives. And the likelihood of you sticking with it is just that much lower, right? Because this all just takes time. You're talking about building content sites. I want to just dispel the myth for anybody that it's literally just about writing a blog post and all of a sudden being there, right? And making money. It's
if it was, it wouldn't exist, because everyone would do it. And that's what people don't 100%. Understand. They're all looking for, I hate this, because the reality is they're all looking for the golden ticket. They want quick money, quick, easy money. It doesn't happen that way. If it's easy money, it's either illegal or you're going to have a gold rush of people coming into it.
Sure.
And it disappears. Efficient markets.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll make it. Yeah, we'll meet we'll meet in the middle of where it's efficient. I mean, you have price discovery there, right? Or difficulty discovery, maybe in this scenario is what we're talking about. Yeah. But I think like anyone who like learned, to be honest with you, so you and I were talking earlier about, I sort of like did an early launch of a course product, right? And like in it is all this stuff on SEO. Now, I'm really not a phenomenal SEO, and in fact, right now we pay an SEO team to do our SEO. But I can tell you, to be a phenomenal SEO is tough, but to be competent in SEO is not. It's just effort, right? I can tell you that if you can learn basic keyword research, right, and you can learn how to write content, and you're willing to actually just go put out an article a week for 52 weeks straight, and by the way, also spend an hour a week trying to get some backlinks to those articles, that you will, if you have the right keywords, you will rank somewhere for them. Now, I'm not going to say you're going to be number one. I'm not going to say that you're just going to print off money, but it's just how it works. This is just, most people just don't want to put in that year long of effort, right?
No, they don't. And it's hard work, but that's why I also think one of the biggest advantages going for a market that's growing, because then you're playing for a pie that's growing. So if there are only two of you going for it and there's only 1,000 searches a month, then you've got to compete between you for 1,000 searches a month. But if that's growing exponentially, ultimately it could end up at 1 million searches a month for a particular topic. You look at the crypto space.
If you get, this is why I talk about newsletters, because like, okay, cool, you're competing, right? Let's say we get to a space where we're getting 10,000 people a month to a website. I'm just saying 10,000 to make the numbers easier to think about, or 1,000, nice round number, 1,000. Okay, well, if you can get 5% of those people to sign up for your newsletter, right? Just hypothetically, through a lead magnet or a newsletter, whatever, for your list, a retention tool, well, now you've got 50 people a month. Okay, great. Extrapolate that out over 12 months. Now you've got 600 new people on a newsletter that when you put out that content, you can bring back to the website. You may end up doubling the traffic that you're making every month by just making sure to have some sort of retention tool to keep them in here. For here on YouTube, it's subscribers, right? That's just what it is, right? This is a built-in retention tool they give you, right? But on a website, you start to build that in yourself. And so newsletters are just the one that I think anyone can do, mostly because I'm like not an incredibly competent person and I've done it myself. But I think for those people that don't know where to start, like if you're interested in a certain niche, I think the EMD route is beautiful because you can look for these exact match domains, you can see what's available, you can build around it, you can then do your keyword research. The other route of it is expired domains, where like I can go to all these places that have these expired domains full of link juice and try and think about, and as I look at them, see which ones, what niche they're in, right? Like just sort of help it decide for me. So for $1,000, go buy a domain that's already got a domain rank of 35 and already happens to used to rank for 60 keywords, and somebody let it die. And I just say, okay, I'll buy that. It's $1,000. It's not $9.99, like with an EMD that you find through, some registrar, but it'll hop, skip, and jump you, 6 months of link building ahead. And it helps make a decision for you on what you want to build around, right? So that's an interesting.
It can be the inspiration for the business and for the content that you create.
I mean, that's what the Ask You guy says, all right? Like
he's got some crazy domains around.
Yeah, but those are what decide the business, right? Birthdayparties.com, Vidalia Onions, those are his, right? I believe those are his, right? Like, it's not that he was like, oh, I really love Vidalia Onions. I mean, maybe he does. But it's that he saw a great opportunity and said, oh, here's an exact match domain, happens to be expired with a ton of link juice and power to it, right? I know I can build a business around that, So I'm really, when I talk about website flipping, I always say to people, like, if you got less than $5,000, right, to think about website flipping, then yes, learn everything I talk about, dig, maybe you do find a great website that's making $100 a month that you can buy, improve it, make it better. But also really be open to like taking these concepts of like improving monetization and improving traffic and applying that to finding an EMD or an expired domain and just building on top of it from there and flipping that right later on, because it's just like it's you. I don't know.
It's way easier to take something that's already working and scale it than it is to start from scratch. But I do love to talk about the elements that are required from starting to scratch, because I don't think it's ever a good idea to go and buy a business you don't understand anything about. If I'm buying a content business, I need to know how to build a content business, because otherwise, how the hell am I going to manage it? And how am I going to scale it if I've got no clue? I don't want to jump into the deep end and risk capital on that.
100%. I think, sorry, I'm going to throw in a do not disturb. Siri, put on do not disturb.
Okay, I turned on do not disturb.
Thanks, Siri.
Yeah.
Siri, order me a MacBook Pro.
Oh, it's right here. Thank you. No, but I think you're right. And so I think that what happens is, like, I can teach and talk. It's not rocket science, right? Like, nothing I do is rocket science, to make that abundantly clear to everyone. It's about having the right tools, and then about finding something that you're interested in. That's the combo. And again, you don't have to be passionate. I'm not like impassioned about like the silver tech e-commerce business we just bought, but like, I really enjoy the mechanics of growing it. And I enjoy from the parent level company of like, how do we combine it with other companies and do this, right? So it's like, it's interesting to me, right? And I know and I have the tools in my tool belt of how to make it better, right? And so that's what I tell people all the time is like, don't buy something that you know nothing about and that you hate, but don't sit there sitting like with this paralysis analysis, waiting for your dream business to come along just because you enjoy just because you enjoy 1967 Ford Mustangs does not mean you're going to find a website or be able to build a website about 1967 Ford Mustangs, right? Like, can we get close to that though? Can we find something that's maybe in the automotive space, or can we find something that's like 1960s adjacent? I don't know. I'm making this up as we go, those specific examples, but like, it's to find something that you don't find like just mind-numbingly boring all the time, you know, because you're just going to unless you, I mean, maybe it's just people are stronger than me, but I just can't do things for very long that I find mind-numbingly boring.
No, I'm the same. I'm exactly the same. I think that's how you end up as a T-shaped entrepreneur as well. And if you're listening and you're not so sure about what T-shaped is, T-shaped is where you excel at one thing, but then you have a wide breadth of skills, of different skills. I think it's so useful because I love learning new things. So I love, learning programming, marketing, SEO, then you go into the kind of new industries and niches, what financial services products you're gonna work with, from my niche anyway. All of this I love. So doing YouTube was a whole new thing to learn as well, wasn't it?
Sure.
Okay, well now I've got to learn about editing, pattern interrupts in videos. How do I keep people engaged? How do I play the YouTube algorithm? Kind of learn this like broad set of skills, but it becomes useful because you don't have to do the nitty gritty, and one, you don't get bored because you're not doing the same thing every day, so you don't have that routine because
Sure.
not everyone's happy with routine. But also, it comes down to this: okay, I'm going to create with this project I'm doing now. I'm going to create an anime. Oh, but wait, here's an idea. How do I drive demand for that, and how do I build? Well, there's this thing called webtoons, which I've just learned about, and I actually knew nothing about. Okay, let me use a skill that I already have, which I've learned previously and applied to other businesses, and apply it here to generate traffic to that. And that, then SEO comes in, and then things like being able to build a website is important because, well, how am I going to do it?
That's all even, I don't want to get too sort of like ethereal and esoteric and sort of foo-foo here, but the reality is half the stuff that you and I are talking about is very quickly becoming fully automated and fully, like first time I built a website using Dreamweaver, I think in like I don't even know, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know. I haven't even heard someone say the term. I heard someone say Dreamweaver once in the past year, and I was like, oh my God, I've not heard Dreamweaver in forever. But, me like everyone's got like Squarespace, all these tools now, right? These WYSIWYGs, what you see is what you get, right? Like drag and drop builders. Dreamweaver was like the closest to that kind of years ago, right? You would have like a WYSIWYG, but like HTML at the bottom. Anyway, my point is like, I'm quite positive AI can just build websites today, right? At least for like the purposes of what most people getting started are looking for.
Yeah,
you know?
you don't need anything complex. I still think that it's useful to have some base level of understanding of simple markup languages like HTML and CSS is going to be important, because there will be things that you might want to change on a website, or you may want to improve the site speed, which matters. Anyone listening, this, site speed matters. If your page load speed is more than 3 seconds, you are going to get killer drop off.
I'm trying to get rid of ClickFunnels because ClickFunnels will not load faster than 12 seconds for me. Now it'll load above the fold pretty quickly, but in general, like, you know what I mean? It's just cumbersome. Dude, page speed is like, people ask me, we spend on the Silver Tech company $4,000 a day on ads. As our ad spend is about 120 grand a month. I'd like to get that. And it's so funny because to some people that's not a massive amount, and to other people they're like, oh my God, how is that possible? It's not, to be abundantly clear, it's not like I take $4,000 out of my pocket and hand it to Facebook every day, right?
Yeah,
like,
if he wasn't getting sales, that would be switched off very quickly.
Yeah, exactly. This is like a business that like fully functions and does, it's like we make like $1,500 a day, you know what I mean, off of that spend essentially. Well, maybe more, but my point is, we initially, to make the numbers easy, when we first bought the brand, we had a 11-second load speed, page speed, right? And what we realized was that through Facebook ads, we had, so for anyone who doesn't know, Facebook counts like a click and a landing page view as two different metrics, which is fair. The landing page view is someone who sticks around to actually see what is on a landing page. One thing is someone clicks and disappears. And so we were getting basically that conversion rate. We're getting 30% of the people were not even from a click, we're not converting to a landing page view.
So wait, one thing, were your campaigns optimized to clicks or to landing page views? That's just me being curious.
I don't remember what it was at this point. And to be honest, I would have to dive in today, because like, again, one of these jack of all trades, master of none. Like, I'm a competent media buyer. Like, I'll probably run my own ads for my course, because I'll spend like $200 a day, $150 a day on it. But like, if I'm spending $300,000 a month, Lord knows it is not James Camp.
That's a full-time job to manage.
Yeah, we spend like probably in total $15,000 a month just on the media buying agency, like just for people to buy ads for us. Like, they do some creative and copy for us, but we also pay for our own like creative to be made and our own copy written and stuff sometimes. Like, it's a trade-off. It sounds like a lot, but if you're spending 300 grand a month, you're literally talking about 3% of your ad spend, right? In that regard, or less, so anyway, or no, more, 5%. Anyway, but what we realized is that the click to landing page view, we're only getting like 70% were becoming landing page views. So if I just make the numbers easier and pretend we're spending 4,500, that means that I was literally $1,500 a day lighting it on fire. I mean, fully $1,500 in a day was not even seeing, I was paying for them to come to the website. They were not even waiting for it to load, and so forget even so organic, just from me from a paid standpoint, right? Like, that means I'm lighting on fire $45,000 a month. I'm lighting on fire $500,000 a year, right? It's just sort of mind-boggling when you extrapolate it out. So what was the answer to that? And it'll never be perfect, right? That'll never be perfect. But like, we went and spent $10,000 on having everything fully optimized by a conversion rate optimization agency to bring up our page speed, right? To bring it to a place where we could, I think now we're more like 3.6 or something, right? And we were at like an 11 or something. Now, again, that's talking about the full page loading, right?
You can use the lazy load and have, everything above the fold.
But either way, it made a big difference for us, right? And so like, my point is page speed. When people ask me about, and then I want to go actually into like more just like the ABCs of how I think someone can make money online, because I think that's probably more people are searching for when how to make money online in 2021. But what I will like this, then that gets into.
But dude, you should see the shit that comes up on YouTube when you search for it. It just looks so scammy. Like, fill out surveys and earn $300 an hour.
That's just a lie. That's just a full on lie. I mean, do I think you can make like $6 an hour filling out surveys? Probably. you know,
Go be a mechanical Turk and work for Amazon.
Yeah. At least you can say
that's not a racist term, just in case anyone doesn't know what a mechanical Turk is.
Yeah,
Legitimate word, okay.
It's not. It actually is a service where they pay humans to do like robotic jobs, right? But you need to think about sort of when I talk about funnels, like we can talk about optimizing ads, we can talk about making better content, but like the most high leverage activity that anybody can do when they're already getting traffic and already getting sales, instead of trying to get more, yeah, you can create more content, go for it. I think that's amazing. Yeah, I can buy more ads. Of course, it's amazing. But like, it's to look at your funnel and are there like little tweaks that you can make that make a big difference? Because it's alone on that page speed when we're talking about, right? If I can increase the landing page views by 30%, right, with one tweak there, right? And I can increase another thing by 30% or 20% somewhere else, right? With just like a different call to action or something, right? Now that's a 50% change in my business, like fully in my revenue from the same amount of traffic on the same ad spend, right? So like, it just becomes like, if I'm converting at, what I always tell people is if you're converting at 1%, when we bought the site, we were converting at 0.8%. So 0.8% of all visitors became a customer. I would like to be at 2% plus, right?
So I think 2% is the baseline for websites.
100%. So I'd like to be at 2% plus. So what does that mean to me? That means that if I can increase my conversion rate by 1%, all I have to do is like, I have to go through the funnel and find enough changes that I can get a 1% change in conversion rate. That means I will double at a 0.8. I'm more than doubling the revenue that I'm making on the exact same amount of ad spend or the exact same amount of traffic.
I'm so glad you said this, because I think so many people ignore CRO or conversion rate optimization and leave it as the last thing. But you double your conversion, you double your revenue, you halve your cost of acquisition, right?
I've got
another kitty coming in.
Yeah, but in a 1% change, and that's what I think is so. That's why I don't think people recognize that, this because it gets so extrapolated out. So it's not like you need to go make it convert at a 10% instead.
Yeah.
We're literally talking about convincing 1 in 100 more people to be a customer, and that is 100% done through conversion rate through your funnel.
Yeah, I think like the baseline benchmark for average websites, and this isn't industry specific, is 2%, and I think the worst is 0.5%. Yeah, so it's like normalized distribution.
So to be clear, we do have like a slightly higher ticket product. We're like our SKUs range between 300 and 900. So if we hit like 3 or 4%, I would be just rolling in piles of money. So I think that's likely, but I really do think we really want to get up to like a 1.5 to 2%, right? Which for that high ticket of a product would be great. Like I'd be very fine with that, you know?
It takes the higher the ticket price, the more time and trust the more time you've got to spend on building trust with consumers to actually spend with you. You know, am I going to spend $1,000 with someone I don't even know? Like, it's tough, and or a brand I don't know.
I did my course pre-sale like 3 months ago. Remember I told you at the 3:30 in the morning numbers. So when I did like a small full launch to a small list yesterday. I did poorly, and I compared it to the pre-sale numbers. Now, to your point about conversion rates, on the pre-sale, it was a $200 product, and I converted at a 36% on the landing page. And that's just because we were so warm, right? It was such a hot lead that really wanted to buy this. So that's also these metrics about KPIs like that are standards are tough because it all is really predicated on so much more info, you know?
That's very, very different now. And I think that's why it's so important to build a personal brand, because when you do something new, you have a warm audience that trusts you and you know, loves the content that you create.
Yeah, 100%. And I think let's pivot that into, and I'm going to say it a couple of times so that algo picks up on it, but how to make money online in 2021.
Yeah.
If we go specifically in how to make money online in 2021,
and 2022 and beyond,
2022 right? for that matter, I would say that the easiest way for someone to make money is being a creator. And part of that is because you can own your own backend. You can own your own product, and that can be whether through a service or a digital product. And both of those are infinite margin products, right? So like, I think that like, for example, when I sell a $500 product that cost me $200 to buy, right? Let's just go over that scenario. I only have got $300 of ad spend that I can spend for it to make sense for me to make a profit on that product. But if I'm selling my time, and I think that in the long run, you don't want to be selling time, because I think that you're selling time for money is like a sucker's game in the long run. But if you're selling your time, if you got a skill, you want to make money online in 2021, think about like, what is your skill? What can you be inherently good at? And I mean, to be honest with you, I charge consulting hours, $250 an hour. I'm probably going to bump it up to 300. That's like a $700,000 a year salary at $40 at 40 hours a week. Now, candidly, I don't book 40 hours a week of time like that.
See,
right?
I tell you what, I see people doing that, and I think I could never do that. I can't do it. I can never trade that, because I'm so fussy about what I spend my time on. And if someone wants to drag me into something and spend an hour with them, I don't think I could put a price on it. Like maybe
I would tell
ridiculous.
you that that's probably for your happiness. You're right. But if I had to tell someone in 30 seconds or less how to make $100,000 a year on the internet, I'd tell them become a creator about a niche that they're really good at. Maybe create an info product around it so they could they could build once, sell twice, Jack Butcher style, and then it would upsell them on like $300 an hour time. And if
completely agree with you there. Like if you don't have a product or you can't productize your service, then you got to consult. That's it. That's the only way to start. We're very different stages compared to people that are probably going to be watching this, in terms of like, that's why. So like maybe you can only get $20 or $50 per hour. James is charging $250. And for me, I would probably say the same. Like if I've got to trade an hour of my time for money, then you got to make it worth my while, because
because it's your time.
Pouring back time is so important. The older I get and the more I have on, I don't want to spend time on shit.
Well, the trick is, for me, what I will say, and I think I maybe told you this last time we spoke, is that really candidly, I've done a lot of consulting in my life, and some of it is like dreary, terrible stuff. And that was big consulting firm stuff. The consulting calls I do now, like 9 out of 10 of them, I actually really love doing, right? It's kind of like exactly what we're doing now. Like someone asking me sort of first, like, it's easy for me. It's fun. I can do it like while I walk down the streets. People love it. It gives me a huge rush. Like my goal is now to get someone to be like, oh my God, that was great. I understand it. Because then I leave so hyped. So would I want to do that 40 hours a week? Absolutely not. But like, do I mind doing it 2 or 3 hours a week for some walking around money? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that works for me perfectly. It's not for everyone, but I would say that, like, I'll give you a really random example. Not really random. Sorry. I'll give you an example. My Twitter, right? Forget my course.
Yeah.
I've got 15,000 followers now on Twitter. I would bet I can make $500,000 a year from my Twitter if I really wanted, right?
15,000 followers you can make.
Yeah. And it sounds like a lot in the Twitter world, but it's not in the influencer space, right? I can tell you, when I had 7,000 followers on Twitter, which if someone really wants to grind it out, they can get to, right? And from there, I did, I think, $30,000 or almost $40,000 in like 6 months, just from consulting work that I got through Twitter. With 7,000 followers. I'm not saying that that's what my dream is, right? By any extent of the imagination. And that was part of me just discovering what are the levers, what do I enjoy doing online, and I do that because I'm buying these e-commerce businesses that I don't take a salary from, right? And so it's like, my point is, like, anyone could do that, right? Like anyone could chop that in half and make, fine, let's bring it down to a quarter. Someone grows to 2,000 followers and takes 6 months, and they offer it. My point is, if you really want to make $30,000 online, being a creator and selling your time would be the lowest effort, quickest way to do it. I'm not saying it's a long run answer. I'm just saying, for anyone who's searching how to make money online in 2021,
I tell you what, though, that still comes back to content, because how did you amass your followers? You put the effort into creating threads and putting out content that people perceive to have value on Twitter. That's why they follow you, because they like your content. Sure.
And that also connects to this concept of, like, clearly if you're going to be a creator, it's one thing if you're building content sites, but if you're going to be a creator, then I would definitely do something you're passionate about, because like, and that you're knowledgeable about, right? And because for me, like, there's a reason I grow quickly, right? And it's because like I take these kind of complex esoteric things and like magic pill them, just like say it like in a way that anyone can do it, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, for like, yes, it's effort to put together threads, but in general, like, I wish maybe YouTube is my channel, because it's much easier for me to just talk through it. I hate writing.
Dude, you need to do it. I tell you what, because you actually have value to put out there. And I don't want to name names, but there are creators on YouTube that I'm seeing that just talk for 5-6 hours on live streams, and people love to follow them. And I listen to it and I'm just like, this is just such bad advice. Horrible. Like, why are you telling people this?
Yeah. No, I definitely got to, so yesterday I spoke on a Twitter Spaces, which is like sort of an interesting new thing with a friend of mine, Dave Nemitz.
Yeah.
And Dave is the founder of something called Bleacher Report, which if anyone is.
Yeah, I know Bleacher Report. Yeah.
Yeah. And he sold Bleacher Report for $200 million, right? Knows big content sites. Then he built a company called Inverse that he sold to Bustle. Bustle Media Group owns Elite Daily, W, Inverse, L. I mean, a bunch of huge media things. And he and I had coffee 2 days ago before I did the Twitter Spaces with him, which is again another sort of live stream type thing, right? Think of like Clubhouse, but on Twitter. But as I had said to him when we were meeting up, I said, Dave, what are you going to build next? What media website are you going to build next? And he was like, honestly, I'm never going to build a traditional media website again for the rest of my life. He's like, I'm bullish on the creator economy. He's like, I think that this is the future of media. He's like, the fact that a singular person with 2 employees can make as much money as a news website with 200 employees is sort of mind-boggling, and sort of just the future of it. So I really think it's just, I hate to say it, but it is just all, you're right. It just boils down to content. It just boils down to creating as much phenomenal content as you can. And very luckily, these channels exist in which you got to do a little bit of growth hacking, I believe. I don't know about YouTube so much, but Twitter.
Yeah, everything. I think you've got to be prolific at experimenting, which is one of the things I say about anything you try in life, really, because as soon as if you think you're doing something because everyone says it's the thing that works, then you've lost that edge. It no longer works when everyone's doing it. So have to experiment and growth hack, experiment, whatever you want to give a name to it. That's what you've got to be doing. And I think also with social media in particular, one of the things which I think I was like late to realize and took me a while is anytime there's a new feature rolled out, it doesn't matter what the platform is, that feature always has a bias. And if you can be the first person to prolifically use that feature, you will attract a huge following because they want people to use that. Twitter Spaces is another one. If you can be on Spaces daily, you can crush it.
They're going to push you. I mean, honestly, that's how I used to manage about 1 million Instagram followers in a different life when I was like buying up, when I wasn't doing websites as much, I was like buying up all these Instagram accounts and trying to build this Instagram network, right? And then we would grow it sort of by doing these like shout outs. I had like 4 accounts with 250,000 followers each. And they would each would post 3 times a day. To make this clear, people ask me how much content to put out. Each account posted 3 times every single day, full real posts. We'd share it into stories, and then we would shout out each other in a circle every day, all around in a circle, right? And so, but we'd gain a couple thousand followers every day on each account, like clockwork. But I can tell you, I'm not on the Instagram game anymore, but I know how people grow Instagram now, and it's Reels. People grow their Instagram. Like if you want to organically grow on Instagram, it's Instagram Reels. And then it's just because, to your point, what they're doing is like just giving you so much algo juice because it's like all these creators that went to TikTok. Like in the beginning, TikTok was giving everyone virality because they just wanted, you on YouTube get 1,000 views a video or 10,000 views a video. Great. I want to show you that if you come to TikTok, you could also get, maybe we'll give you 100,000 views a video, right? So like it was inherently like extra algo juicing, I think, pushing people to say like, come to this platform, right? Before they start, eventually, it's all going to get limited, right? This is how it all works, right? Like,
there's always regression to the mean. But if you have first mover advantage, then you can gain an edge because you're going to grab the followers before anyone else. And if you're, let's say, Charlie D'Amelio, you've got 100 million followers, that's it. No one's going to catch up to that.
I mean, dude, when we talk about these 100 million, what's crazy about this stuff? So I'm an advisor on a piece of this company called Palms. It is a pre-roll company. I won't say what kind of pre-roll because I don't know how the algo feels about that, but it is a pre-roll company based out of California.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's weird business. I just off topic. I just invested in some weed business out there as well.
Oh, really? All right. So it's a weed business. It's
I'll say that.
Yeah.
Have you? I've never even seen it because I haven't been to the US for a while with COVID and everything.
Sure.
But I don't know. I wonder if I can say the names. It's called Perfect Union. I'm hoping it's going to be big because this is
an all ships rise in high tide scenario, right? Like exactly. I think it's really one of those things where, again, to go back to the beginning of our convo, you can sort of reduce. I can't guarantee anyone's success in anything. Anyone who does is a liar. But what we can do is like remove risk. We can hedge risk, and part of that is like investing in industries or putting an effort into content, right? Into niches. Think about my money and your money going into a business as someone's time and effort going into a content, right? Like if you're part of an industry that is just massively growing, you're infinitely more likely to do well, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I think you'll probably do well with that. But we've recently had, and I'm not that I'm an old man, but I'm 33 and I love my Twitter.
Same age, dude.
So I'm not.
Don't say old man.
Super deep into that. We bridge this gap, right? Where I know who some of these influencers are, but I'm not like deeply involved with them, right? But we had at Palms, we had Bryce Hall, I guess is his name.
Yeah.
Bryce Hall.
I've seen that on Twitter. Isn't the one like part of that TikTok crowd? Yeah.
Yeah. So these are people that have like 50 million followers, right? Things like that, like crazy numbers. And I said to someone, I tweeted about it because they were on Dave Portnoy's Barstool podcast, right? Wearing all of our merch, which is like obviously a big deal, right? Because it's more millions and millions of people seeing it. And they're obviously not just going to be sparking up joints on Portnoy's podcast, right? But I said something like the most famous people in the world are so excited, the most famous people in the world repping a brand that I'm an advisor to, right? And some people responded like, who are those people? They're not the most famous people in the world. Dude,
I think this is how I ended up as a follower to you on Twitter.
Oh, really?
I remember this tweet.
I'm not in the space in my life where I'm sitting here just arguing with people, right? But all I could think was like, wow, how woefully unaware you are of how the world works today, right? Because obviously I can't tell you exactly who's the most famous, but anyone who's got 50 million followers across all their platforms, whether you've heard of them or not, is without question one of the people in the world with the largest reach, right? And I think that people that are our age and not into the creator economy like you and I clearly are, would be like, what are you talking about? This 20-year-old is that I've never heard of as one of the most famous people in the world. What are you talking about? And that's just a fundamental missing of this like paradigm shift in what media is.
But what they don't realize is that those 50 million followers are a huge asset, because he could turn around and launch a competitor to any direct consumer business and have millions in revenue overnight because people will buy whatever he's selling.
100%. And it's sort of, and now you see like Mr. Beast and like his whole crew, they've now created this sort of like incubator, right? Where they're like investing. It's super genius, right? They're like, they're investing in one another and doing what we're doing, right? And like
creators are becoming the VCs.
Yeah. So he like will put in money into someone, right? And then he'll push them on YouTube. And like within a week, they've each got 1 million followers, right? Yeah. So it's like, so he's got the distribution. And so he puts in the money, owns 10% of them, and then makes them famous, right?
Dude, I saw that tweet that he put out, and that's why I made a music video to call him out and say, hey, dude, come, you know, I don't even want the money. I'll give you 10% of my channel if you just get me to 1 million subs.
Yeah, man, it's sort of mind blowing. And now it does get diluted a bit, right? Like the values that you can derive from people, like the more like having having 1 million followers 10 years ago was way different than having 1 million followers today. That's just for sure the truth, right? And it will continue.
Well, it also depends on the niche as well, because one of the things is, right, so when you think about niche content, you've also got to think about the ticket value, because I can make a lot more money from 10,000 subs on YouTube than someone with a couple 100,000 could make in a separate niche. And that's because the relevance of financial services products to my viewers is far higher than someone vlogging about, I don't know, productivity or beach holidays.
I mean, for me, it's I'd say we're niche adjacent. I'm like, I hate this term, but I'm more like in the MMO space, like make money online space. Yeah. And like, it's not that I hate making money online.
That's what we're talking about, right?
It's my favorite thing in the world, but it's become so bastardized and diluted by these people that are just frauds, right? Being involved. But what I can tell you is that, like, for me, when I did my pre-launch of my course, and I made $12 per an email, right? That's basically what I converted each email to be worth to me. That's not monetizing my Twitter directly even. That's just the email list I've amassed through running a Twitter and having a link in my bio, right?
Yeah.
I've got about 3,000 subscribers now, right? So alone, just from pushing a full launch, I should expect to at least make $36,000, right? Yeah. So I know that I can make way more than that, right? If 1 in 100 people that followed me ended up buying a $500 product from me, right? I'd have 150 people buying a $500. I'd be 75,000 right there. It's easy, right? As long as you have a good niche and backend, right? That's the problem.
But it's also about the value that you're delivering with your content. So your content is what you're selling to these people is saying, hey, I'm selling you something. I'm selling you the tools or the information to be able to go and make more money. So they're thinking about it in terms of what is the return on investment to them.
I think that you are really touching on like this thing that I struggle with and I think a lot of people struggle with, which is this real imposter syndrome thing, right? Mm-hmm. Where for me, I'm like, oh, this is just nothing. This is just like literally what I'm thinking about. Like why it's so easy. Anyone should be able to, there's nothing special, but the reality is that like, clearly I've been working in this space for 17 years, right? Or whatever, like officially as an adult, like more like 14, right? But like, I've been, I made my first AdSense money, $30 when I was like 16 or 17 years old, right? So like, I sold my first ad network. We started selling as 19, we sold when I was 20. So like, it's not like I have been doing this for a long time at 33. So what seems to me feels like, sometimes I feel like I'm an imposter just like talking about all this stuff. And it's like, people are paying me all this money. And I'm like, whoa, why me? Like, this is uncomfortable. I shouldn't. And then it's like, people will say to me like, no, man, like you're really adding value, right? Like you really are giving real knowledge here. And so I think that for a lot of people, the reason I bring that up is that I think for a lot of people, they don't get started because of imposter syndrome and they feel like, why me?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's one of the biggest barriers to entry for anyone wanting to get there, because they're probably thinking, well, actually, if I was to, even if we go back to the consulting, if I was going to sell my consulting time and I wanted to charge a decent rate for it, they'd probably start feeling, oh, well, but can I? Asking themselves, talking themselves out of it rather than jump into it. But there's kind of two sides to that, because there are the ones that are just overly cocky and you come across this and they'll try and sell you on it and then they deliver nothing. Yeah. So I usually prefer to find the people that are kind of more reserved or are ambiverts rather than the extrovert sales guy who's going to promise to deliver X, Y, and Z and then delivers nothing to me.
Yeah, no, I think that if we're thinking about selling our time, how do you charge a large amount? I know you never want to sell your time. I prefer to not in the future. But when I think about selling time and charging a large amount, the very simple answer how to get that done is to solve bigger problems, right? So for me, when I talk about conversion rate, when we go back to that, right? Like if in an hour, the business that I bought most recently, when I consulted for them last year, they were doing $50,000 a month. We made in a 1 hour phone call some tweaks that changed them to go from $50K a month to $250K a month. So like Was it worth $250 to the business owner at that time? Absolutely it was, right? But the reality is, it's like, if you, for instance, if you can help, this is why you hear people all the time say, oh, you don't want to work with small clients. Well, it's the truth, right? For me, if I'm not going to tell anyone I can 5X their business, but what I can tell you is I can probably, for most businesses, I can probably find like 5% inefficiencies, right? And fix those, right? But that means that if you're doing $1 million a year, right? That means that I can make you an extra $50,000 a year. So are you willing to pay me $5,000 for 10 hours? Absolutely. Because I just solved a $50,000 problem for you.
Yeah. It sort of reminds me of the expression, you stand next to a waterfall, you're bound to get wet, right?
Sure. Yeah. Exactly. It's about trying to be part near these bigger, because it becomes like exponential, the value that you're creating, right? But here's the thing, if I can only help businesses on average 5%, and making this number up, and you make $10,000 a year, well, then it might not be worth it for you to pay me $300 an hour, $250 an hour for my time. It really might not be, right?
Yeah.
So like, this is why it becomes better to solve bigger problems. So you want to get paid more, like just like guru babble bullshit, solve bigger problems, think way bigger, and take your skill set and apply it to people with bigger businesses, right? Because, this comes down to the niche stuff, right? Like for you, if you can help someone with personal finance, like you might actually help them save thousands of dollars or make thousands of dollars more a year, every year, these things like that, right?
For me, I think it's with personal finance, I think it always comes down to not just what you invest in. A huge part of it is a mindset shift. And I think that there are two mindsets shifts that apply here. One is going from the idea of, I can't, going from this kind of small monkey mind of there's scarcity everywhere, and having an empire mind and being like, there is abundance, I can make more. And that's a shift where you focus on bringing more money in, making more. Some people have these limiting beliefs which just ruin their lives because they don't believe they can ever earn more than a couple of $1,000 a month.
Yeah,
it's wrong, but
dude, this is one of those things that feels foo-foo and fake, but is so real. It is like the world is, I don't know about full simulation, but you are so spot on. Like first time I got kicked out of school was 4th grade. I went to 5 high schools and dropped out of college. I still haven't graduated college, right? Like, and I'm 33. Like every single thing I know is from networking and Google, essentially. Yeah. Right. And if you just believe it can be done, it can be done. But you're right. People believe, this gets into a much more complex conversation of like neuroplasticity and like the brain's ability to like see itself do things and have memories of what it thinks is possible.
It sounds so wishy-washy, but I do think the biggest barrier to making money in any capacity, but if we're talking about making money online, the biggest barrier to entry is going to be your limiting beliefs of thinking, I can't do it, and then just quitting if it doesn't work straight away.
100%, man.
I don't have the time.
Yeah, and you have to. This is one reason I like Twitter so much is because I found my tribe there, so to speak.
Yeah,
I found some really great people there, and I can tell you, like, I'm incredibly blessed and incredibly lucky. I will never pretend that I'm not privileged, because I am. Like, I live in America. I grew up in New York City as a 6'2" white dude. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I was like, someone handed me a royal flush, right? In terms of, I'm really serious, right? Like,
I know.
Like, and I'm not bragging. I'm just like trying to acknowledge like the reality, right? Like, of like how easy my life has been compared to other people's. And so I don't want to pretend that it's just as easy as it has been for me, because I know that I'm very privileged. But this is why Twitter and YouTube and things like this are important, because like I happened to grow up around, my friends' dads were investment bankers and working in private equity and real estate developers. And I didn't grow up rich, right? Like I grew up very middle class, but my dad went to Yale, my mom went to Harvard, and my grandfather was a trustee of Columbia. Like, and
and you dropped out?
And I dropped out. And both my sisters have multiple degrees and are just like geniuses and the hardest working people ever. And I dropped out. But none of my parents had money. First of all, that's the first thing I learned, was that where you went to school had nothing to do with how much money you made.
Absolutely.
Because my dad died. My mom had to do spousal refusal of his debts when he passed away because he had so much debt. My dad, full scholarship to Yale, full on, grew up middle of nowhere, Texas, got a full scholarship to Yale, went to Yale, moved to New York City. And my mom lives also, I love her with my heart, but lives on Social Security today, went to Harvard. So this had nothing to do with how much money he made. So that was a big lesson for me early on, was like, cool, I don't care about trying to go to an Ivy League school because I want to make money, and making money has nothing to do with me going to an Ivy League school. So that was like a full on realization to me pretty quickly. But, I don't even remember where I was going for before that, but yeah, school has nothing to do with money, education has nothing to do with, but I did get to see people around me being successful entrepreneurs and doing these things and making their own paths, right? And so what I think is important about something like Twitter for someone who was not lucky enough, like me, to just come from a world where they saw everyone making money and saw it was all possible, is you can become part of a community, whether it's Twitter or YouTube or Facebook, wherever, but you can ingrain yourself in a community and start really spending time with, 5 people that are who you want to be, right?
Yeah.
Basically, you are the 5 people you spend the most time with. I genuinely believe that's true, right? So like, if everyone in your small town or your community is, just doing jobs that you never want to do and making no money, then of course it's going to be almost impossible for you to see yourself doing anything that we're talking about today. So people should go and find like online communities and become involved in them. And you'll see that like, there are people just like you all around you that are making, man, I know 24-year-olds making $300K a month on YouTube right now. I mean, yeah. I don't mean like the big influencers that everyone knows. I mean, just homies of mine who have like a few thousand followers and are running paid traffic for offers to their follow, So it's like, I think it's important for people to surround themselves, even if it's just digitally, with people that are doing what they want to accomplish, like making money online. And you'll see
you've got to cut through the noise though, because it's like I said to you, it attracts so many scammers. And when I looked at this search term, which is why we titled this "How to Make Money Online in 2021," it's got 500,000 searches a month, but you guys put that into YouTube, like the first 3 results are just scammy ads. And then the videos are like, oh, I make $3,000 a day with surveys and all of this crap. Like, let me pull it up.
I'm looking at it now.
On the screen now. Like, what are you seeing on there?
$3,300, 68-minute proof shown. What's interesting is that the way this works is so odd, because all these methods, so there's like a guy on here, I'm not going to name him because I know he is, who like is super real and he crushes it with this stuff. But what he's done is he's taking, and I've done it to some extent too, but he's taking these things that if you really, really put enough effort into, in their best case scenario, can do that for you, right? He's not showing the unlikely scenario, right? He's not showing the likely scenario, which is that like, you do need to try one of these things to make $200 daily, it's all possible, $100 a day, know, but the truth is, it's like most of these people, I do see us actually 167 people watching, and the people also watch, we're the top people also watch one right now.
How are we doing? Let's see. This is interesting.
Yeah.
Have we managed to hook the algo? Yeah, 163, 161 likes.
What I would be interesting in what I want to know from you from this is sort of, and maybe if you didn't track it, we'll track it next time, is like where you started on sub rate, your amount of subs before this started, and if you gained any subs after it started.
Yeah, that would be interesting. So I know I didn't track it, but I'm pretty obsessive over my analytics. I have 3,000.
Every night I check before I go to sleep, and every night I check.
3,023. So we'll see what it's like afterwards. That'd be interesting. You've also got to take into account that this is live right now, and then what happens is YouTube will take it and leave it there as a video on my channel. So
true. 100%.
So like, us literally just having a call and catching up and talking about business.
Dude, next time we're doing this on my channel. I'm down to do this.
Fair enough, dude. You've given me, it's a 2-for-1. I'm happy to do that.
I'm so ready to do this all the time, dude. The truth is, man, is the coolest thing to me about YouTube. So I'm not amazing at a lot of stuff. I'm pretty good at Twitter. I get Twitter. I know how to grow it. I average, I mean, I can pull it up right now since I also obsess about all this. Like I average, let's see, and it's all exponential growth. It's all hockey stick curve style stuff, right? Like the beginning is just the slowest chug, and then it's, you know, I mean, I can tell you in the past 30 days on Twitter, I've gained 4,114 followers.
Shit.
Right? Like yesterday, 97, the day before 69, the day before 92. I mean, these are good, right?
That's good, yeah.
These are good numbers, right? They're not like an astronomical, but they're
I gain like one a month.
Yeah, well, but again, it's that chug, right? Like it's there's no question that it starts. Also, you reach these weird numbers. There's a couple of different things on Twitter that help you grow. You reach weird numbers where above 10,000, for whatever reason, psychologically, I think you start growing faster because people see you and they feel more comfortable following you. People,
it's the network effect, isn't it? The more
100%.
likes you get, the more people you're going to reach, because at the end of the day, when someone interacts with a tweet, it goes out to whoever they're following.
Exactly. And then when you come to my Twitter, like as long as you're in this like sort of ecosystem, right? If all the people that you trust follow me, and at the top it says followed by blank, blank, and blank, you're also just infinitely more likely to follow me as well, right? Because there's that social proof automatically. But so I figured out Twitter pretty good. But the thing that sucks about Twitter, it's easy for me because I just, as we can see, you can talk about anything forever, and I just like spitball crap out of my head, and it works, right? But the reality
that's why I'm telling you to live stream.
Yeah. That's
you'll probably have more followers than me in like a week.
Dude, I'm gonna try and live stream for sure. And because I do think it would fit more for my style. But what's interesting with Twitter is it disappears forever. And you made a comment earlier about YouTube, which is really cool. And this is something that fascinates me about YouTube, is YouTube has the same sort of feed type, not as much as Twitter, but has a feed type dynamic, right? Homepage, suggested videos, right? For you, right? Of something I've put out, subscribers like followers. But the real magic of YouTube to me is two things, is search, which doesn't exist on Twitter. It exists, but no one's out here searching for my tweets and finding them a year later and reading them. It's not. And then also is more of the discovery through suggested and channel page and all these things, right? I put out a tweet and I can tell you, it gets seen less and less and less. That's just it. And obviously it happens with YouTube as well. But what I've seen from YouTube is it gets seen, it gets less and less and less, and then it finds a spot and it keeps ranging and keeps getting traffic. Now I only got like 3 videos on YouTube. So I average between like 15 and 30 organic views a day, which is nothing, you know?
But with YouTube, you can also go back and change the thumbnail, change the title, change the tags, and see a new spike with the same content.
Sure. That's what I did a whole thread the other day. Dude, you just gave me a thread idea. I did a whole thread the other day on that with organic search on Google, right? Well, again, let's get back to sort of this, know, you're making money, you got a website, you don't make much. How do you make more without just increasing the traffic, right? Well, if you're when I talk about website flipping, one great thing is the exact same thing as the thumbnail. Let's say you buy a website, right? Or you build a website. You're all over page 1. Keywords are all over page 1. What does the description and the title look like? Right? Because if you can change the conversion rate, like if you're number 1 if you're number 2 on Google, the ugly meta description, ugly title, your CTR, less people are likely to click on it. But if you have it be enticing, if you go from a 2% click through to a 4% click through with one change, with literally changing one title, right? If you can learn to write a little bit of SEO friendly copy, right? You can literally double your traffic without doing anything, right? So so when I talk about website flipping or building and improving websites, and the thing is I just talk about flipping because that's what is like the appetizing magic pill for people. Really what I teach is how to improve monetization and how to improve traffic.
Yeah.
Those are the two things. Happens to be most sexy when I say buy a website that already comes, and it's easier, right? Buy one that's already functioning and improve its monetization and traffic. But we could also just do this from building from scratch, to be completely straightforward, right? I could probably repackage my course as just building websites, building niche websites from scratch, right? And
it would be a funny experiment to see which one performs.
Which one did better, yeah. But that's one of the things I can teach best practices. The art stuff is more complex, but the best practices like changing your title for you with YouTube, like I'm sure you could put together a YouTube course on how to increase YouTube, right? Changing
this is something I got to spend time on myself because I've not really put the effort into it. It's like figuring out, if I change my thumbnail, this is going to improve the click-throughs. if I change the title, what tag should I be focusing on? And like one of the biggest, this is like a personal issue for me, and it's probably important for people to learn from this lesson, because if I was doing a niche content site, then I would definitely separate it. When you're doing a YouTube channel, it's a bit different, because I wanted to do it to build my personal brand and to build an audience, and I had my own ideas about what I wanted to do. So if I was doing a site and I wanted to experiment in different niches, they would have their own domains. But with YouTube, I didn't want to have to build two separate audiences.
Sure.
So when I talk about a stock that I like to invest in, or how to save, or I interview someone who's built a business, those things will fall under, immediately, it's about personal finance or entrepreneurship. When I do something really wacky, like write a children's book, and then suddenly I'm ranking on YouTube for how to write children's books, or I noticed the other day that I rank on Google search results for how to pitch Crunchyroll. And I'm like, oh, so like one of the frustrating things about that is that they appear to be two very different niches. And I have to try and work out how to tell YouTube algorithm, these aren't different things. I'm trying to I'm trying to do this kind of like lab experiment where I can take some random obscure thing that people tell me can make money and show people how I would approach it. And the same steps that I take in doing that are applicable to anything that you do in life. SEO came up, SEO, we were talking about at the start of this. Oh, I want to sell my anime to Netflix or Crunchyroll. Well, how am I going to do that? I'm going to need to put up a webtoon. Okay, I've got to go and learn about webtoons. Okay, to do that, I need good copy. I need good click-throughs for their algorithm. Then I need to drive traffic to that. How do I drive traffic? Well, the best way long-term is to do SEO. All of it applies. It's all business. And like, I don't know if you've seen it, but if you do, like, I use some of what we talked about last time on the best webtoons. I talk about that in the latest episode of that and how I go about that and what I'm doing. And I'm gonna show people the Google Search Console results for it. Am I ranking? How am I doing it? But I think these are important lessons for people. If I can start with putting barely any money into it and then sell an anime series to Netflix or Crunchyroll, touch wood, because it's not done yet, for $1 million, anyone can do it, because I've got no clue what I'm doing.
Sure. But what I do want to sort of be honest about with that, right, is as you and I look at the Make Money Online 2021 results, right? We're like, oh, a bunch of this is garbage. But what that is also confirmation bias type stuff, right? So when you say anyone can do it, I do believe anyone can do it. But the reality is not anyone who tries to do it will do it. So that's the same thing when we search and make money, when I search here right now. $480 doing nothing is a ridiculous thing.
Who's saying that? $480.
That was literally it says $480 doing nothing. App that pays you $480 for free while you sleep. That's definitely a kind of scam. But in general, a lot of these like Teespring $100 a day things, like it's possible. It's 100% possible. It just but the trick is to show people that. The other thing you touched on there is like you're really sort of like building in public. And how like what a useful and powerful thing it can be to build in public. I think that can be really major in terms of you don't know what content to put out, build it in public, and people will come and sort of view what you're building in public pretty open. You know what I mean?
Wait, am I picking something up from your end, like a woman's voice?
And maybe there's something playing in the background. Oh my God, a YouTube video for an apartment tour started playing in the background. I just changed. If you guys want to know the apartment I'm looking at, it's on YouTube.
This is the closet.
Yeah, I was like, I actually thought that was coming from you. I thought it was someone in your house.
No.
I was like, oh man, his wife is really just digging around in the closet over there. My apologies. Yeah, I guess
that's still you.
The apartment I want to move into.
Sorry, dude. What were you saying?
I was just saying that a lot of this is sort of confirmation bias stuff, right? I mean, I don't want to pretend that just because you build something that works or I build something that works that anyone can do it. I believe it's possible, right? But it's not a formula that is guaranteed. The other thing, before I forget, so I've got some friends who like sold comics to like, I don't know if you know what Dark Horse is, but sold stuff to Dark Horse and run something called Heavy Metal. Heavy Metal is like a pretty famous big sort of graphic novel magazine, but but reach out. I'd love to connect you with some of those people as well as you're looking to sell.
That's sick.
Because I know this. Like, I know that world a little bit just randomly.
You see how things happen, right? So us two have never met in person, This is literally from Twitter reach out. And to be fair, that's probably, I have an added advantage of I'm doing this in public. So there is that probably is a competitive advantage. I look, I love what Paul Jacobian's done on Twitter with building copy AI.
Oh my God,
in public.
He's crushing.
I don't think he'd have done that if he hadn't been building in public, but he's got it to, 100,000 a month in revenue.
I think he's over that, actually. By the way, I think, and so Blake, the CMO now as well, right? Which is this other guy he met on Twitter.
Yeah.
What I would say though is that like the key to all of this over everything is sort of networking. And it's really, really just what this is, right? Is that like, you and I will play around and have, like, this has been fun for me, right? We're playing around and having fun networking, right? Like I consider you a friend now, but like, it's also a thing where it's like, no, but if you wanted me, just so you know, like, I'm not like in any organized shout out circles or anything, right? But I can tell you that like I'm in WhatsApp groups with like people that also have 10s and 20 and 30 and 40, 50,000 followers on Twitter, right? And so when I make a thread, we all talk, like we all help each other out. So if I make a thread, I send that to 4 or 5 of my friends who also like have 10, 20, 30,000 followers, and they'll retweet it for me. As long as it's not a guaranteed thing, but if they like it, they think it's useful, they retweet it for me, right? And they'll share it. And that's networking. And so basically I end up being in this place, like I've never done a full course launch on Twitter, but I know when I do, I have probably 500,000 or 600,000 followers across all the people I know that will retweet my launch for me.
Yeah.
And on a good thread, I'll reach 400,000 people anyway,
Nice.
Just like organic virality, right? So I just know, my point is like, there's a huge value into networking here, like a massive, massive value into networking here, right? It'd be interesting to see, I've never streamed on YouTube before, but can we even, obviously it would be more beneficial to me at this point because my YouTube is so small, but if we both had big YouTubes, could we co-mingle live stream? I don't know, right? Do you see what I'm saying? And
that's an interesting one. I'm curious.
That's how Twitter Spaces works, right? So when I was on Twitter Spaces yesterday, it's a Twitter Spaces that someone else is hosting, but I'm on it, my friend Cody's on it, and all of our followers see it, right? Do you see what I'm saying? So it's like, all of a sudden we have, an aggregate of 40,000 followers that on the top of their Twitter feed, it says that we're all talking on Twitter Spaces together,
Sorry, dude. I'm just ignoring you rudely because I've got people typing in the chat now. So
cool. People are saying, what do they want to know? What do they want to know?
They're not asking questions. One said, "Love your video," and then they're saying, "Hi." Cool. So I'm just saying hi.
I dig it, man. This is so cool. This is so weird to me, but so cool. It's what's funny is that when I never in a million years would have thought of myself as a creator or ever wanted to be a creator. Because there's like a fine line when you start selling products between creator and like guru, and I never want to be that like fake guru guy ever. But what I will say is that I've fallen prey to the mechanics of the gamification of social media. This is so much fun to me. I love getting likes. I love getting subscribed. I love getting followers. I love that people want to message in and stuff. You know what I mean? Like that is, by the way, everyone go sign up at nanoflips.com.
Yeah, you can do the shout out. I can't say no to that.
If you want to learn how to make money in 2021 online, it's nanoflips.com. No, but all jokes aside, like
go follow James on Twitter, dude.
Yeah, Jameson Camp or James on Camp on Twitter. I just teach how to make money online all day. But in all seriousness, man, like, I think that you and I are just sort of beginning this journey. We're way far from ground zero, right? In the launch pad, right? We've done a lot of work to get to where we are. But in the scheme of stuff, as you know, you and I are nowhere near the size of where I think you or I could be as creators, and our ability to sort of make money at will through doing things that we enjoy.
I feel the same as you. It took me I like my private life. I like that I'm a very private person, and I've always been, up until now, I've always been B2B. So I've never had to create this personal brand and go out there and show my face and talk about my business. And I don't like it. I don't even use Facebook or Instagram personally. So it was a lot of effort for me to come onto YouTube, and it took a while. And I thought, I really want to do this. I think that I can do something cool. And I didn't even care about it making money. I just thought, right, this I will take everything I love and just teach people about how to go about business. And you know, I still have my business and I'm building my business, so I don't have to worry about making money from it. It's just fun to build this community, and you get people reaching out, and I get emails and like, how do I do this and how do I do that? And it does feel a bit rewarding. Like, not that I'm doing it at scale, but when I get these emails and I can help people, it feels rewarding to be able to do that.
100%, man. And I think that the reality is that, like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's bits of this that you find that you hate. Like, this is the fun part, right? Like, and I also know that you're like a like fanatical or sort of like tyrannical with yourself about editing, right? You've said it to me before, right? Like, right? There's no way
this is easy because I don't have to edit this, but
yeah.
Some of my videos.
But that part of it, like, there's parts like I love the payoff of a good thread, and I love just tweeting random crap, right?
Yeah.
There's two notes to that. I'm sure you find the same thing with YouTube. Is that, like, for me to put a good thread together, it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
It really does. The other side of it is that, like, I don't think people recognize how much content I put out, right? Like, what's scary, like, and I don't even recognize it until I look at it right now. If I look at my tweets on Friday, right? Like I told you yesterday or today, I don't know what time zone it's in, right? But it's on Social Blade, just it tracks my followers, my following, and the number of tweets I put out, right?
Yeah.
From the gaining 97 followers from between Thursday when it tracked and today when it tracked. 97 followers, I put out, ready for this? 43 tweets, right? So now I want to be clear that it's just tracking every time I tweet. Now, probably only 3 or 4 of those are my like tweets to the world, right?
Yeah.
The rest are interacting with people. But like, let's assume that on average, it comes down to a minute a tweet, because some probably the bigger ones like took 5 or 10 minutes to format, think about it, you know, and then the rest are like 10 seconds. But that means I spent at least an hour on Twitter yesterday, right? Every single day. And I've done it 7 days a week for Lord knows how long now, right? That doesn't include me responding to DMs. It doesn't include me doing email newsletter stuff, right? So it's like, yeah, I think off this course launch, I'll make 40 grand. Cool. But you know why? It's sort of like the payout that I get from putting in a ton of work for free for like 7 or 8 months straight now. And so that's why it's useful to do something that's kind of fun to you.
But you don't know if there's going to be a payoff. That's the hardest thing. So when people are looking at these, there isn't that certainty. And that's why they do say entrepreneurship is staring into the abyss, because there's no guarantee. There's no paycheck at the end of the month. You don't know if you're getting paid month to month until you've built something that delivers value. And then you can take your foot off the accelerator a bit and relax.
Yeah. Well, and to be honest with you, I'm 33. I started trying to make money on the internet when I was 16, right? And like, by the way, I've done well. I've sold a couple businesses, but I'm not like sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars. Do you mean? And even if I was, you know what I'd be doing? Exactly what you and I are doing right now. Trying to like have fun and grow something. Like my friend Colin, shout out to Colin. He's a beast. He in the marijuana space. He just took his company public. They sell $70 million a year of cannabis.
Sick.
Yeah, like he's a monster in it, and he's like probably my like closest Twitter companion. Like we like actually text message each other every day or every other day. Like we're homies. We have other mutual friends. My point is, you know, Colin like put in, I don't know, just the amount of effort that got put into this initially. Like Colin was like, I got a goal, 100,000 followers. I got 100,000 followers by 2022. It's happening. Live or high water, like hell or high water, happening. And so that's his like goal he goes for. But what I'll say is that he always has a saying that I think it's kind of his mantra, but it's builders build. And I can tell you that like builders build, man. You're a builder. I'm a builder. This is what
builders build. I do love that.
That's it, man. This is what I do. Like, you know, I used to, when I was younger and more naive, I thought, I want to make so much, I aspire to do nothing. I want to make so much money, I do nothing. And as I got older, I would never do the nothing. How wrong I am about that. Like, I love building stuff. I love messing around and tweaking and trying new things. Like, that's just what I love. Like, my goal is to make enough money in the next decade that I can do whatever I want all the time. But whatever I want, we'll be starting businesses. That's literally just what I love doing, man. This is fun to me, you know?
Dude, I was sitting down with a friend of mine on Wednesday, And so I'm going to use that line of builders build, because he's literally, he started as a builder and now does 120 million a year in turnover. And he's like, Hamilton, I just want to quit. I'm sick of it. I'm like, dude, you're not going to stop. You're never going to retire. You love this too much. He's like, no, I've had enough. I can't take it. I've got 5 kids. They drive me crazy. I'm like, you're never going to stop.
I learned a long time ago, the way that mindset shift happened for me is, and I think I've told you this, when I was 26, I sold everything I had and I moved to Southeast Asia. And I did, like, listen, anyone listening, I've lived your backpacking dream. I've done it, right? Like, I've done the digital nomad, like Bali every weekend or Thailand on the weekend. I lived in a 4-star hotel in Kuala Lumpur for a year, $575 a month with infinity pools on my roof. I lived and, living like a king. I've done it.
Wait, let's just go at that $525 a month.
Yeah, 575. Yeah, 575.
575.
And I lived, in a 1-bedroom furnished suite in a 4-star hotel in the nicest neighborhood in Kuala Lumpur. I mean, I used to joke around and say I could write a 1-page book on how to 4x your net worth in a day. It'd be to move to a developing country, right?
Dude,
it's just,
I tell you what, it's on my agenda. The taxes, the lifestyle.
Listen, when I look at businesses, think of yourself as a business, especially apropos of talking creator economy. There's 2 ways to increase your net income, your net profits, right? You either make more revenue with the same cost of goods, with the same, right? Or you lower your COGS with the same revenue. So in terms of this, right, my COGS, if James is a business, are this apartment, right? My COGS are the food at the grocery store, right? My COGS are transportation in New York City, right?
Yeah.
The truth is, let's just make an easy number. Let's say I make $10,000 a month, right? If I make $10,000 a month living in New York City, I can tell you right now that I'd live in, I don't live in that's a whole different thing. But if I made $10,000 a month in New York City, I'd probably live in a studio or a small 1-bedroom apartment. I probably would only be able to save $5,000 a year. And I would go out to eat with my friends every once in a while, but it wouldn't be astronomical. We're talking about pre-tax, right? 10,000, right? Because post comes down to like $6,000, right? I can tell you I'm looking for 1-bedrooms now. They go between $3,500 and $5,000 a month in New York City.
New York is so, I suppose it's probably more than London, I think.
It's just offensive. It's just deeply offensive. But if you make that same money, if you have the same gross revenue, and you as a creator or a freelancer or as a consultant, even just as a person running a business, and you can move, if I move to a place, forget going to Kuala Lumpur, that's an extreme example, right? If I move to Houston, you know what I mean? I could live in the same apartment for $2,000 less a month. And all my food would cost 30 or 40% less, right? So but what I will tell you is the lesson that I learned was that like making 6 figures a year from a laptop in Southeast Asia was like really cool for a year and a half, but it got really boring. And because I'm one of those builders like I'm crazy competitive, not like in athletics, but in business, right? Like I was like, did I just run away from New York City to make my life easier? And after like a year and a half, I was like, screw that. I'm going to go back and I'm going to show everyone that I can do whatever I want in the most expensive city on the planet.
But why in New York? Because you could live anywhere, and it's like you said, there's a huge advantage, and it's a competitive. If you treat yourself as a business, which I think more people should, because it's stop ruining their lives and running themselves into debt and living beyond their means. If you treat yourself as a business and you live in a low cost of living city, you still have access to the same amenities. So you still have super fast broadband, you still have the same number of hours in a day. You have an advantage over your competitors.
So you're married, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, sorry, you're whatever. You're in a serious committed relationship. Is it?
Well, we're supposed to be married because of COVID.
Oh, okay.
We haven't done it yet. So, Kim's my wife, essentially. Yes.
There you go. So, but you and Kim would move somewhere together, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Kim is your heart and your home, is my point that I'm trying to get to, right? And your heart and your home is going with you somewhere. Right?
If she's not coming, the kids are definitely coming. So I'm taking the cats. I'll be like father of cats. Yes.
There you go. So my point is that for me, you ask why New York, right?
Yeah.
New York was just, I'm not advocating for someone not from New York to be like, screw that. Let me go find the highest cost of living I can and go there. No. for me, it was just I'm born and raised in New York, right? So this is this is like my heart and my home, right? And I'm happy to live somewhere else, but I felt like I competed in a certain place, and I kind of won, and then I felt like I was failing, and so I ran away from it. Me going to Southeast Asia was like running away from something, and so me coming back to New York, I don't want to live in New York forever. It's not that. It's that like I wanted to like sort of win in the place that I felt like I had run away from before, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's psychological. That's
That's
overcoming
James.
your
That's like James
mindset
being
shit.
screwed in his head,
Yeah.
not like a normal thing people should do.
Yeah.
But that was just me wanting to prove a point to myself, right? I felt like I had ran away because I couldn't keep up with the world that was happening with me here. And so I felt like I wanted to come back. And also, at the time, I mean, living in Kuala Lumpur by yourself, like at the time, like my mom lived here, my dad lived here, one of my sisters lived here, another sister lives in Connecticut, which is really close, right? So it was like, it was just, it becomes lonely, man. I am a bit of an extrovert, and so it's like, being near your family or loved ones is, I think, important for me.
Yeah, people are like that. I mean, for me, mine are all over the world. So I've got friends and family in Thailand, so it's a bit different, right?
Sure.
Sure. That's what I think about getting out of there.
All over the world. Like I would live in LA, or I'd live in Miami, or I'd live in London, or I'd live anywhere where I had a good community, right? That's really what it comes down to, right? So the other thing that's happened to me, one reason I thought about leaving New York is because during COVID, I was very lucky. All my best friends I've known since either I met them in elementary school or high school. So I've known them except for like one or two, I've known all of my five best friends for 15 to 25 years, right? And they all lived up until 6 months ago, all lived in New York City, right? So it was like any girlfriend I had was like, this is ridiculous. This man acts like a child, because I would just hang out with these five people all the time. We just wanted to hang out and do nothing together all the time. It wasn't even needing to go out. We were just like homebodies together,
Yeah.
And so, one reason I moved back was like that community was here for me, right? And now that's gone, and now they've all sort of spread apart. One lives in New Jersey, another one lives in Utah, another one lives in LA. You know what I mean? Like, to your point, like I would happily move somewhere else, but it's sort of where you feel, your community is, where your tribe is probably the best place for people to move.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, I'm different. I consider myself more introverted, but I'm probably an ambivert. So for me, I hate socializing. I hate going to parties. I'd be much more happy gaming with friends online, which I could do from anywhere in the world. So It's a bit different.
Sure, but
I say all this, and I live in dead center of London, so I suppose it doesn't really mean much. But that's kind of a pre-COVID thing. My main business primarily involved a lot of face-to-face, a lot of travel all over the UK. Even globally, so it was convenient. I mean, I was in Nigeria last year for a week just to go and meet clients. So it's when you're doing that, then there is the advantage. But now that I'm not involved in the day to day, and I'm taking a step back, now I am thinking, well, hang on a second, why am I in central London? What's the point?
Totally. Well, and I actually think for me too, all the time for me too, I'm constantly struggling with this concept, like, do I need to be, I live in Williamsburg. So for anyone who doesn't know Williamsburg is just like the trendiest part of Brooklyn, which for some reason is now more expensive than Tribeca and Manhattan. I've been looking for apartments, and my mind has been blown that one bedrooms and luxury buildings in Williamsburg are costing me more than one bedrooms and luxury buildings in Tribeca, which is like one of the trendiest parts of Manhattan. And I think it's partially because of COVID. Brooklyn is a little bit more spread and a little bit, less on top of one another.
Yeah.
Everyone fled Manhattan during COVID. And I don't think that happened so much in Brooklyn. I think
we had the same around here. Like it was so dead quiet. I mean, it caused a little bit of trouble with some of the rentals, but otherwise it's it was nice to have that peace. And
it's changing now though, again, right?
Yeah.
It's all coming back. Can everyone just hold on for 30 seconds while I pee? I need to pee so bad.
Yeah, everyone's waiting. I'm gonna answer to some people in the chat. You go pee. What's up, chat? We're just leaving James to go do the private business. Who are the 5 people that disliked the video? Come on, guys. What's up, Rowena? Where's Rahib? Is Rahib still in the chat? Nut Destroyer 420. I want money. How to get money? Well, you got to watch the video. We're talking about how to build business and how we've both built businesses. If you listen, you'd know that we said there's no quick and easy. Anything that says it's quick and easy is most likely a scam. So pay attention. But if you want to listen to what we're saying and watch some of the content, and we do share how we've made money online and how you can too. It's really not that difficult.
Honestly, I had a conversation. Sorry, I'm back. I had a conversation yesterday with someone who said to me, we were talking about making money online.
Yeah.
And
just keyword stuffing.
But he runs a leasing office for a luxury building, right? So they rent apartments. And I was like, we were talking about open door, which is, you know, the idea of like buying apartments through the internet, right? And he was like, well, you know, apartments will never be making money online. And I was like, you guys already do making money online. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, what do you mean? I said, well, if I wanted to pay you my rent in cash, would you take it? He said, no. I said, well, then you make your money through the internet. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I was like, how do you think a wire or an ACH works? How do you think it literally goes to the internet? Right. So like everyone is already making money online, right? In some regard, almost all commerce in the developed world happens.
Well, even the lets, right? You go online to find everything. You were just looking for a new apartment. It's all done online. That's how they get their lead gen.
That's all it is. And then and then the actual commerce. This is why it's funny. People always ask me like, how do I get into e-commerce? And I hate to be such a dick about this, but I always say, take away the E and ask me that same question and tell me if it sounds crazy. And so if I said to you, how do I get into commerce? You'd be like, well, that's the vaguest question I've ever heard in my entire life. Let's get a little bit more specific here so I can give you a direction to go, right? Because e-commerce, it's just like AI. We're just throwing these like things on it to make people comfortable with it. Like e-commerce is just commerce, right? Like it's just internet commerce, right? AI, I firmly believe, not to get, we won't go too far down this rabbit hole, but I sort of believe that AI, as long as it gets good enough, just becomes I, right? We just call it artificial because it makes us feel more comfortable with the idea that it's like not sentient, like it's not part of a human, right? But like, why is it not actual intelligence, right? Our brains are just a bunch of like neurons firing off electrical impulses, right? That end up making decisions and make us move and stuff. So, but
going to get very philosophical on the
I digress.
now.
I digress. Yeah. But most commerce is online, is my point already, right? So when people say like, how do I get into making money online, or how do I get into e-commerce? Like, even if you wanted to get into just like, I know what they mean by e-commerce. They mean like selling things on Shopify, essentially, right? That's most of the time what people mean. Even
that's because everyone's going after the golden tickets, right? They see people saying that you can make money drop shipping, and suddenly there's this gold rush for let's go set up a Shopify store and see if it works. They don't realize that actually there's a lot more work to it. It's not actually low-hanging fruit.
And there's a ton of money that goes into it. You know what I mean? Like it's just a never-ending. I don't know. I mean, like I said, it becomes, obviously you can grow things from scratch, but like, you know, us spending $4,000 a day on ads is like, not because we just found a random product, threw up a Shopify store, and we're just like, boom, here's $4,000, Facebook, make us money, right? Like it took so much work and effort to get to a place where we could spend $4,000 a day profitably, right?
Yeah.
Like, and there's 8 contractors and 2 full-time employees at that business, right?
Yeah.
Like, and there's a warehouse, and there's, you know, it's just, and we've got two of the contractors are CSRs, so like customer service, you know what I mean? Like that eventually I'll put on as full-time employees. Like it is a business, right? Like drop shipping does work. It can work. The margins are horrific. It's pretty tough to actually pull off. And if you do it and you want to scale it, it's not just, people think that it just becomes like, oh, I found an ad that, this happens to me all the time with ads and media buying. People think you find an ad that works and excellent. Now I just pour gasoline on that fire. It's like so wrong. It's like we literally create new creative and new copy several days a week.
Yeah, you got to think about the impressions, the repeats. People get tired of seeing the same advertisement over and over again. You got to change it. You got to split test your copy. It's effort, but that comes back. Even if you wanted to do e-commerce, drop shipping, that comes back to niche again because it's products. So how are you going to find your niche? And are you going after something that's growing? Or you don't want to be in a stagnant market because chances are it's dominated by incumbents, and then you're going to have to spend a huge amount of time and effort to offset, to take them off the throne.
I mean, if people care at all what our thesis is for like e-commerce stores that we buy, like I try and look for things at like a 75+% gross margin. I've had people tell me that's impossible. I can tell you that's not impossible in any extent of the imagination. We have an 85% gross margin on the profit on the product we sell today. And I'm looking at buying a business that has an average of 90% gross margins on their product.
Immediately goes and launches competitor.
Here's the thing: is I'll just tell you, like the only reason I don't want to talk about the business I just bought.
No, I don't think it's right because the trouble is, while some people get value from it, others just copy it and
it's on. But honestly, like I know, listen, you could try and copy me. You want to go spend $120,000 a month? Have fun. You know what I mean? Like dead serious. It's just we're beyond. Someone's not spinning up a drop shipping store and competing with me.
Yeah.
No one that's searching for how to make money in 2021 online is currently my competitor for spending over $1.5 million a year. You know what I mean? It's just the reality. It's just a different place, right? But I will tell you that we look for those margins. We look for AOVs, average order value of over $50. And then what's great is like consumables. Right? Something that someone buys, they use it and they need to buy it again.
Repeat business.
The first business we bought is not a consumable. And that's what I'm trying to figure out is how we attach a consumable, a product extension to it. Because once you buy this product from me once, you bought it and that's it. That's sort of part of the problem with a lot of this drop shipping stuff, things in stores as well. Most of them are just like smash and grab. If you're really running good paid and you understand your funnel, a good friend of mine runs, I won't say what it is because it's weird, but a very large and famous venture-backed, he's a partner in it, venture-backed sneaker company. It's very big these days. They spend more money on their CPA than they do than they get out of their AOV. And what that means is they spend more money acquiring a customer than they do on the gross sale of their product. Right? So they lose money acquiring every customer, right? Now,
so I hate venture-backed businesses.
It's just mind-numbing. And they're raising another $75 million right now, and they'll get
such bad habits.
But what's crazy about it is for me, I never want to be in that business. And clearly you never want to be in that business. But the angle with that, and this is a little different than like SaaS's, but the angle with this one, right? Is that my favorite shoes I wear are Vans, right? I don't need to see a Vans ad to go buy Vans. I've bought maybe 30 pairs of Vans in my life, right? Like in the past 15 years, I'm making that number up, right? But it's quite possible that I've owned 30 pairs of Vans. I don't need to see a Vans ad to know that I want to go buy a pair of Vans. And so would a pair of Vans cost $80? Would Vans pay $100 for me to buy my first pair and come buy 29 more without them ever spending a penny on me again? Absolutely they would, right? Because the trick here, there's an old Dan Kennedy quote, very famous marketing guy, right? And so Dan Kennedy has a quote that says, he who can spend the most on a customer wins, right? And that's really the truth, right? In many regards, right?
Yeah.
And the way that you learn to spend the most on your customer is understanding the LTV of your customer, understand the full lifetime value of a customer. And you'll see almost everyone selling info products on YouTube, they've got a tripwire, $4.60, my guide on blank, $15, and then they upsell you in the back end for a much more expensive info product.
So I'm glad you touched on this because I think you tweeted about this the other day and you were saying how a great product with a shit funnel won't sell anything, but a shit product with a great funnel can sell all day long. So let's talk about sales funnels, and because this is vital for anyone that wants to make money selling a product, service, ads, or whatever. You need a funnel, and you need a solid sales funnel to, one, get the first sale, but also improve your conversion rate.
Yeah.
So what do you think is the best of the best in terms of online funnels?
So I can tell you, so I currently am using, in terms of just software stuff, I'm using ClickFunnels for something. I hate it. But in terms of just how a funnel works, like the most standard funnel, that just to explain for anyone who doesn't know it, right, is like a customer. How do you get a customer from being a complete stranger into being a customer, right? That's what the funnel process is. Like you're bringing them step by step by step. And so normally what happens, if you understand your LTV, your lifetime value of your customer in the long run, you'll see you get a free email subscribe normally, right? And then you sell them, or you do a tripwire. So a tripwire is like a small first-time purchase to signify that you are serious, that this individual is likely to pull out their credit card in the future.
Tripwire, I like that. I always call that product for prospects.
Oh, I like that. Sounds way less aggressive.
Tripwire.
Tripwire sounds like, I come from like a direct response world, and like product for prospects sounds so much friendlier than a tripwire.
That's the B2B world for you.
Yeah, so I call it a tripwire, right? So it's basically, it signifies, and then the idea with a tripwire is to get what we call, well, I call, and other people call, we want to be a self-liquidating offer. So what that means is I want to pay for my acquisition costs. All I care about is breaking even on the tripwire. That's all I care about. Because if I sell you something for $5 and I can get you to, and it can only cost me $5 to get it, I don't care. Perfect. Now you're in my world. Now you're in my world as a customer.
And you've demonstrated, as you said, that you're willing to pay for products and services.
And I can tell you that the biggest jump, in conversion rates, this is actually a really important thing to know. The biggest drop in all conversion rates is going to be going from 0 to 1 penny, right? Yeah. The biggest drop is getting someone to pay for. So let's say that
people will laugh at that and think, no way. But Amazon tested this at scale and did it. I think it was in France. Okay. So they tested with Prime members, the difference between charging a low delivery fee and no delivery fee. And exactly as you said, the conversion was insane. If you take the difference, it doesn't matter if you're charging 1 pence, 99 pence, or free.
It's the friction. It's the friction. That's what it is. We want to do as little friction as possible, right? So that's why I don't love Shopify's checkout, for example. So that's one thing I hate about Shopify. But it is the getting me to pull out my card, getting me to type in my numbers, and spend any money at all. I'm telling you that like someone who's willing to spend a penny on their credit card is infinitely more likely to buy a $10,000 product from you than the person that just gave you their free email, right?
What's your favorite checkout if you don't like Shopify's?
So just like custom checkouts. So right now we're rebuilding on Webflow. We're rebuilding our Shopify checkouts on Webflow. I'm not super experienced with Webflow. I'm like just getting used to it. But Webflow just basically just build a fully custom checkout page and use APIs from Stripe and PayPal, and you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I'm trying out Webflow for some of these little projects that I'm doing for these YouTube videos for these content sites. First time using it, but
I hear it's great.
I build everything in either WordPress or Visual Studio. So
I love Shopify. I'm not knocking Shopify. I love it, and I think it will get better. The problem that happened with Shopify is Shopify inherently wants to force you to stay in their ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
So there's certain things that they won't let you do. Like for instance, we want to do a one-click upsell of a rebill. Okay. So what that means is we sell product X. Remember I talked about like we have this one-time product. I'm figuring out how to get a bigger LTV. Yeah. So what we're going to do is normally what we have is for $50, it's a replacement guarantee. We'll replace that product for you on like a $500 product if it breaks. Sort of like a warranty, right? What we're going to change that to is for $20 a month in perpetuity, I will replace that for you. More like an insurance product. Now, Shopify will allow me to have a rebill product that someone can buy. Shopify will allow me to have a one-click upsell to add to a cart, but Shopify will not, for whatever reason, allow me to do a one-click upsell, so post-purchase upsell, right? Where they just click of a subscription product natively. And so that is something that we're trying to really figure out here, right? And so that's what we're building on Webflow. I mean, Shopify is phenomenal, man. As overall as products go, like it works for SEO. You can do a lot with it. There's a million apps. It's clean, it's easy, it's simple. I love Shopify, but you know, giant brands build custom, you know, sites. You know, they're not building on Shopify.
You say that, but a lot of big brands started
even up to like
out
$100 million, people are using Shopify, hundreds of millions. Yeah. But even then, you're probably not using a theme, right? But no, you're totally right. Like it's something like 10% of the world's largest e-commerce stores are not using Shopify as a platform.
Yeah. It's either typically Shopify or WooCommerce, but it's like you said, the moment you get into the point where you're running 100 million a year in sales business and you want to improve conversion. So if you can double your conversion rate, if you can shift that conversion rate from 1% to 2% on your site, you're doubling your revenue on the back end. And you can't do that without a fully customizable site because there are so many little things that you need to tweak. And again, that comes back to not just what we said about CRO or conversion rate optimization, but also what we said about being this T-shaped entrepreneur and knowing how to do things. Because if you're not at that scale and you're at a lower scale, let's say you're only earning $5,000 a month, and it's enough to sustain your lifestyle, but it's not enough to go and hire a developer to change things for you. If you know how to make changes to the code base on Shopify, then you can go away and make those tweaks to scale your business. So I think that's,
100%,
that's why you've got to constantly be learning.
I think I don't know. I'm actually put out a tweet yesterday asking what people's favorite funnel builders are. Like, I think that people don't realize that all of their life goes through a funnel. So when people say like, well, what's your favorite funnel? What's the best funnel? I mean, I happen to lean towards direct response copy, i.e. like sort of getting someone to make a decision there today. I like longer form things, i.e. longer, like much more words. But for the mechanics of it, ClickFunnels is like the most famous funnel builder on the planet. It is the slowest, clunkiest thing. I actually literally had a friend say to me yesterday, I don't know if people know what Herbalife is, but
yeah,
someone said to me, ClickFunnels is the Herbalife of internet marketing. It's just like on the surface, it's this flashy, slick thing with like they're handing out awards for your 7-figure club and stuff. And you know what I mean? They're just like holding these conferences with, and it's just what it comes down to it functionality wise, it just is not the best. It's just, although everyone swears by it. So I don't know.
It's been around a long time, probably it must be over a decade by now. So has it really had much effort put into revamping their technology and making it lighter? I doubt it.
Yeah, 100%. We'll see what comes. I think there's some ClickFunnels is the incumbent, right?
Yeah.
In this space.
I saw a really good one that was used. I think Q Promote. So anyone listening, Q Promote's a good one if you're trying to drive traffic as well. This is basically you just put a link to your blog or to your tweet and get other people, they get paid to share it. It's not very expensive, but
I do know what you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah. I tried out Q Promote a while back when I experimented with like tons of different services. But they had an awesome checkout page. I think it was just checkoutpages.co, and it was so simple. None of this bullshit, few different steps, 2 lines, and I was done. I think it was just like credit card number and postcode, and that was it.
Well, that's, here's one of the weird things there. This is why I think the Shopify ecosystem is going to keep crushing it, right? So these one-click checkouts, right?
Yeah.
So you see there's a company, a big venture back, not big, but a lot of venture money behind a new payment processor called Fast. I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus here, but they got a lot of money from Stripe, I think, or Square, right? Like $100 million to basically be a one-click checkout.
Yeah.
I'm fully bearish on them. I think that they're going to implode and that hundreds of millions of dollars will vaporize, right? Because I don't think anything's going to happen. Because I think if you use Shopify has Shop Pay now. Amazon's got Amazon checkout. Google's got Google. Like these platforms that already have all of it's so big and inherently, right?
Yeah, they've already got the audience readily available to buy.
mean,
You think they're going to
Apple Pay-
promote a competitor to their
Once you
audience?
start getting comfortable with it, man, like Apple Pay, I never used it until like 3 months ago. And now I literally use Apple Pay for everything. And I cannot tell you how much more, when if I just go like this and click my phone twice and scans my face, and you take my credit card, dude, it's a dangerous world out there. You know,
Yeah.
we
But
actually
this goes back to what we said, right? You're saying Fast raised $100 million. Having too much money can teach you to lack discipline. Sometimes having less money to start an online business can make you more creative. And that's how startups beat incumbents all the time.
Definitely. And you get to not just be creative. What I've realized, because I've worked with like Fortune 500s before, and I've worked a lot with startups. And I can tell you that part of my competitive advantage is like the lack of bureaucracy that exists within my business today.
Yeah.
Right. So like, go ahead, go talk to a 20,000 person company and ask them to make a decision. You'll see it in 3 weeks. It's going to get approved by 14 different people. I'm really serious, right?
No, I know. Yeah.
And for me, like when I talk about acquiring brands, like I have a board and stuff, but like I actually have I structured this correctly on purpose, but like I have one share of something that's called a share class X in my company, which has, I don't want to get too complex into it, but has super majority voting over all common stock in the company. So what it means is it doesn't matter. Of course, I listen to the board. This is why they're there, right? And of course, there's shareholders and stuff. But for me, it means that like if a decision actually has to get made that needs to be like fast and just supersede everyone, that I have the actual legal authority to make any decision for this company en masse at scale without having to go through 14 different approvals, you know? And that allows me to do things in a way that other people can't. Right. And so what I'd say is that for people that are like small and fighting incumbents, because there's always some incumbent. I mean, if there's no incumbent, you're starting the next Facebook or something. Right. And even then there was MySpace. Right. Like, you know, there's always some sort of incumbent. Like, I don't mind competition. It implies actually a healthy market to me. But like your competitive advantage is that like you can move about 100 times faster and more nimbly than a company even with 20 or 30 employees. And I would like lean into that. You know, because it's a huge advantage. It's a huge advantage, you know?
Yeah, it goes through so many layers before it gets signed off or it gets deployed.
Yeah, I added some people to my board that are C-suite of multi-billion-dollar consumer packaged goods brands. And even then as individuals, their lives are so complex that when I wanted to add them to the board, they had to sign these documents. And for them to do that, they had to go to attorneys at the companies they work for and say like, is there a conflict in me joining a board of a different consumer packaged good? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, dude. Like, trust me, working in the regulated space when everything has to go through compliance in our companies, it drives me nuts. I mean, that's why I don't do it anymore. It's someone else's problem, but it still drives me crazy when we're talking high-level strategy and I want something implemented and it's going to take 3 days to go through separate reviews.
Sure. Oh my, it's the worst. And then I'm also just the least patient person on the planet. So I'm sitting there just like, okay, now, you know, and it's never now. But I think, I don't know. I think people I think that one of the main things we're trying to get to here is that like people should lean into what feels like a weakness is if you can figure out how to make it a strength is phenomenal. Right. And I think that happens with like a small team because you can do sort of whatever you want, whenever you want. There's no one to tell you what to do. So like lean into that, get creative and do whatever you want.
Absolutely. How are we doing in terms of viewers?
Let's see.
Oh, we've got a ton of messages on here already.
What do we got?
So we've got 80 watching. We were at 400 when you went to the bathroom. I think you scared them off.
Oh my, we were at 400 when we went to the bathroom?
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy. Is that all your subs, you think, or just some of it's?
No, dude, it's random people. Like, you imagine, my subs are probably at work, right?
I gotta try this. I do
think it's, yeah. Someone actually put it in the chat, but I got randomly recommended.
I love it.
It's funny.
What are the questions? Does anyone have any questions? Ask us specific questions about how to make money online in 2021.
Does anyone have a specific question for us? Are they still in here? Anyone going to type and ask specific questions about making money online? Oh, I forget there's a delay of like 10, 20 seconds between us and the live chats.
Oh, is there? Sorry.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I'm responding to the rest of my life that is not this YouTube.
They got put on hold while we do this.
Yeah. Shoot. You know what I don't do enough of? I do a lot of tweeting. I need to do more YouTube, and I need to do more newsletter. Because I get messages from people like, oh, I love your newsletter. I haven't received anything in a month. Am I unsubscribed? And I'm just like, no, I just haven't said anything in a month.
Consistency is a superpower. And I think a lot of people want to do 20 different things and they get excited. Just find one thing and kick ass at it. Like, that's why I love Twitter. I think it's super powerful. And like you said earlier about the fact that you could make $500,000 a year off Twitter alone, I can't do that. Like, I feel like if I just pick one thing to devote the majority of my time, and for me that's YouTube, so that I know that once a week I've got to do at least one video, which is like the recommended amount. So one or two a week, putting that effort and just having that focus rather than having to do, even if I set up my tweets or my Instagram posts for a week ahead of schedule, it wouldn't matter. Like, focusing on YouTube makes it so much easier for me to be consistent.
I mean, that's the opposite for me. It's easier for me to be consistent on Twitter, but everyone finds their channel. And for all these 80 people watching, it's Jameson Camp on Twitter. If you want to,
go follow James.
But what I want to say though is that I feel what I love about Twitter is that it's one of the only social media channels where sending clicks is really easy. So like, I know if I had 100,000, like I've only twice ever promoted my YouTube on Twitter, and I've got 250 subscribers. Not that that's a ton, right? But like, that's from 2 posts on Twitter, right? So like, I know that like, if I could build up my Twitter, like the thing is to have one major channel that is your home, I think. And then like, if you can like repurpose content for other channels and sort of keep them alive.
I think that is vital. If you have the energy and capacity to do it, then syndicating content is very low effort and high reward, because you can take one piece of content and convert it into a blog post, article, tweets, Instagram posts. You're not having to do much work. You're just chopping up what you already have and putting it out there into the world. And you reach new people because you'll have some crossover of audience that uses both platforms, and they'll follow you over. Then you also find new users because the algorithm starts to recommend you on those systems.
And I can tell you that when I put out what's great for me on my Twitter and my YouTube is if I only have 3 YouTube videos, but when I put a YouTube video out and I post it on my Twitter, so I guess I've tweeted 3 times on my YouTube. But when I put a YouTube video out and I tweet it, it sends a big juice of traffic to it, right?
Yeah.
And then what happens algorithmically is YouTube then, because there's a juice of traffic coming to it, starts also pushing it out more, right? So like, I know just from looking at my YouTube stats that even though I'm just getting, anytime I do a post and it sends Twitter traffic, obviously as a Twitter traffic source, the traffic stays high, but all the other sources go up too, right? All the channel pages, do you see what I'm saying? So like
everything goes up. I mean, we're talking about this, right? Like what we've been doing on YouTube, like experimenting with live streaming because it's new to the algo and the algo is recommending it. And then suddenly we've got this spike and we were at like over 400 viewers at one point, and then the chat gets spammed and people are like, I got recommended randomly. That applies.
400 viewers is like nothing to balk at. And by the way, what I want to say, I said you can make $500,000 a year with 15,000 followers on Twitter. You can also make $500,000 a year with 15,000 subscribers on YouTube, right? Like, I'm quite sure of that, right? Like, again, to your point, it's about having the right niche. 15,000, the 15,000 people, 15,000 email subscribers, there's that old adage that sort of, this idea of like, all you need is like 1,000 real fans or 100 real fans. Like 1,000 people that pay you $100 a year, all you need is like that's 1,000 people that pay you $10 a month for your content, right?
Yeah.
Like that's $100,000 a year,
As long as you can find people that are willing to do it, but there's so many ways to do it if you can be creative. Like, if you think about it, I had 2,000 followers last month, and I managed to close Fiverr as a sponsor to the channel for, you know, a month's worth of work, and they paid me what equated to nearly $15,000.
Sure.
And that's just with 2,000 subs. And it's not even the subs that are making me money. So when you think about it, there's so many different ways. If you just commit to it and you get creative, there are ways to do it.
How many subs do you think you gain a day on YouTube? You put out one video a week?
How many subs do I get? Oh, someone has a question.
Yeah, what is it?
MubaTube has a question. Yeah, go ahead, bro. Ask your question. Whilst I'm waiting for you to type, I'm gonna answer James. I think I probably, like, not a lot. I think one of my biggest things is getting YouTube to realize what my niche is and pushing it out there. And also learning how to play with the algorithm. So doing more live streams is going to be important, because I know that YouTube is favoring that now. I tried to play with shorts, and that was super effective at getting views, but it also wasn't really the right medium for my content.
Sure. I would be very curious, because I'll tell you, like, if by the end of this, we find out that you've gained, I think it might be possible, 20, 30 subs, 10 subs, whatever it is. I think it might be totally possible. You know, it's incredibly valuable just from doing this for an hour or two. The other side of it is, I think that for me, coming from a paid traffic background, I view this as like top of funnel, right? It's great prospecting, right? Like, yeah, like it becomes, so now when I retarget someone with an ad, like if 400 people are on this now, we probably have thousands of people watch this by the end of this in total, right? Like, or you know, 1,000 plus. That's now 1,000 plus people that know who you and I are. That if I wanted to send them an ad for a product of mine,
apparently 7 of them don't like us, but 558 do. So we're cool.
Pretty good ratio. You know, that saying, you know, there's you're not doing something, you know, if you're doing something right, people dislike you. I truly also believe, by the way, anyone that wants to become a creator, and it feels like total imposter syndrome saying this, because I only have an aggregate of like 20,000 followers across everything. But like, the moment, you'll never know how successful you can be till you stop caring what people think about you, is like the most true thing I've ever had in my entire life. That you just can't care what people think, you know? You have to be just totally cool that some people are going to hate you.
Yeah.
Like, when I put out a video, man, I got these 3 videos. One of them, I'm like, knock on wood, blessed enough to have, it's only like 53 likes and 0 dislikes. And my other 2 have like 25 likes and 1 dislike. And it's like, all I can think is like, who's that asshole who just like wants to be like, screw you, I dislike this.
I hate that, man. Like, I don't dislike anything. If I don't like it, I just stop watching. Like,
yeah, man, it's very weird to me.
I don't think people realize we're human beings at the end of the day. Like, we put a lot of effort into our content. Okay, right now we've just spent, we're just chatting away and streaming it. But like, when I spend 8 hours editing a video, and that one person dislikes it, that really gets me raging.
I mean, the thing is, here's the only way that I justify or feel okay with it in my head, and this is, I think, important for people to recognize about building audiences, whether they're doing it as a creator for themselves or they're doing it like for their own channel, like for their own website.
Yeah.
Is that what I can tell you is that like subscriber count, list size, followers are complete vanity metrics that are completely irrelevant into like how much money you can make. Right? What you want is people that really love you, right? Yeah. So for me, when I see like someone unsubscribes to my list, for example, or great, perfect. I don't want you there, right? I don't want to waste money paying ActiveCampaign for subscribers and lowering my inboxing rate and lowering my open rate and CTR by sending content to people that don't like it, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Like leave if you want, that's best. I'd much rather have 1,000 people that wanted everything I had for them than 10,000 people where only 1,000 of them liked me, because I would have 10,000 people I was trying to appease, where 9,000 of them would not be interested and would never be my customer nor my fan, right? Yeah. So it's all vanity metrics people get caught up in.
We got we got a random question from MubaTube. It says, I'm uploading videos on my YouTube channel and I have no more views and subscribers. What is the problem, bro? I guess that's more of a question for me. So I'm going to come back to that in a sec. Agios Petros, how can an 18-year-old make money online today?
I mean, the thing is that there's just too many options to tell you one. What normally people ask me how to make money online, I try and like get through this like little psychological 5-minute process of like, what do you like? What are you good at? Where are you likely to succeed? Right? Are you an extrovert? Do you like attention? Do you want to be a creator? Do you want to be someone behind the scenes? Like, so I'd say starting a niche blog or website, which is where we started this conversation today, is anyone can do. I was making money when I was 16 with a niche blog, right? And then I would say, being a creator, building a channel around something that you enjoy, and then monetizing the link in your bio. I mean, that's the most standard way of doing it ever. I wouldn't go fill out surveys. I wouldn't say to go throw your money into day trading crypto.
No. I think, creating content is an asset, and it doesn't have to be video. It can be written as well. It's all an asset that you should do to build around a niche. Okay, and then I'm going to answer MubaTube's question. So MubaTube, why aren't you getting views or subs? Well, that's going to come. I'm going to have to look at your channel. Pop your channel in the chat, and I'll take a look at it, and then I'll comment on your channel and say why. But usually, I guess it's going to depend on your niche. You've got to understand how people get views to their channel, or how people get views to anything. The number one way starting out when you don't have an audience initially is going to be targeting to search. So what we talked about at the start of this is around SEO, which is search engine optimization. And you can use tools like Google's Keyword Planner, find out what terms or exact keywords people are searching for in your niche. And you need to do the same on YouTube to get the data for YouTube. You can use vidIQ to do that. That will tell you what people are typing into the search bar to find content. And then you need to look at what content is ranking in the top 10 videos for those searches. And you need to put out better content than that. It's got to be longer. It's got to be more engaging. You've got to have a better title and thumbnail. And I think that's the best way for anyone starting out. Just randomly riffing off. Dude, I think this is like good place. I declare bankruptcy. Thank you, Dick Sensei. I like that name. Declare bankruptcy.
Only on YouTube, right?
Yeah, only on YouTube, dude. This has been a blast. But
yeah, man, let's do this again. I'm super down.
We'll do it. We're gonna do it on your channel now because I feel like I owe it to your channel. So
no, I think would be a fun experiment. What's interesting, just the experimenting thing is like clearly it's not all your subs, but it'd be very interesting to see if a channel with significantly less juice behind it, mine. I've got 247 subs, right? And only 3 videos. I'd be curious to see if we could still get 400 viewers at a time on it. Because if we can, that's really speaks volumes to the power of live streaming on YouTube.
Yeah. Right? I think it does need a bit of a boost to get things. So because, I haven't got a lot of subs, but I have some. So them clicking through is going to give it a kick.
Sure.
So that's going to be important. So you do need to announce to those 250 that watch, hey, put out a post on YouTube and say, hey, we're coming. But
I'll tweet it out too. I'll tweet it out. I think we'll get probably.
If you tweet it out, then and you even get 100 come in, because don't forget we've got 50 now, and when we started we had 60, and then it spiked to 400. And random
it's
people
tapered off. I've started checking emails and shit. So
yeah, exactly. And we've covered the topic in so much depth. We kind of went off on one on what our business philosophies are and where we're living rather than answering the question.
Yeah, exactly. I was just freaking out because I saw I had some calls canceled, their sales calls later, and I was like, oh man, that was canceled. Yeah, man, this has been awesome. I really, really genuinely bottom of my heart enjoyed this. And I'm down to always continue to experiment on YouTube.
I love it, bud. Thank you so much for doing it. So you hit me up, message me, let me know when you want to do it on your channel, and I'm there.
Cool, man. And if you want to redo this on yours, because you're better about being proactive than that to me, you ping me.
Right. We could do it on both. All right. Thanks very much. Thank you to everyone that watched this. Make sure to follow Jameson Camp on Twitter, NanoFips on YouTube, sub to Azarus, like the video. Please don't dislike it. It hurts me personally. Tear up a little bit of my heart.
There's a little ego there, right?
Like the video, watch the content. We don't normally do live streams, but we've got tons of awesome content about how to build a business, how I've personally built a business, and yada, yada, yada. All right. Thank you so much to our guests. Take it easy, buddy. I will catch up with you later.
Cheers, man. Have a good one.